Good evening, Barbados. Good evening. Good evening. This is Marcia Weeks, and you are watching the Marcia Weeks Show. We're coming to you live from Barbados, going into every home. I don't know how you're watching this. I'm hearing some people are putting it right on their television. Some people have it on their phone. Some people, have it on their laptop. But today is Wednesday, March 27th. And let me tell you, we have a great show lined up for you tonight. And on our shows, you know what happens? You know what normally happens on our show? We agitate, we educate, we motivate, we mobilize. That's what happens on our show. And it is my hope and my dream and my prayer that after every show that you ask yourself the question, what can I do for this beautiful country, Barbados? What can I do? What part can I play as a citizen of Barbados? Good evening, Barbados. Good evening to everybody's watching. I know people are logged on. I think there is about 143 of you already logged on. And you know what we're going to ask you to do? We're going to ask you to share. We're going to ask you to like. We're going to ask you to subscribe. There's a little bell there. You click the bell, and so anytime we come on, you're going to be able to come on because it's education time, it's motivation time, it's mobilizational time, it's agitation time. It's a time that we are going to truly become craftsmen of our fate. It is a time when us Barbadians are going to determine the kind of republic that we want to live in. This morning I was speaking to an elderly man who's been watching the shows, and he said, I went and I logged on last night. I didn't realize you guys weren't on Tuesday night, because he's just been watching the shows and being really energized about his country. And how did I know he was energized about his country? At the end of our discourse, as he was getting ready to leave, he said to me, he said, Marcia, with this republic, we didn't have a say in it. We didn't have a say in even what kind of republic we were going to have, or even if we were going to have a republic. But he says, okay, we are here now. And he says, we are in Barbados now, 2024, and we can now determine the kind of republic that we're going to live in. We're going to determine what are the core principles of our republic? What is it we stand for? And that's when I heard him today, I felt, yes, that's what the purpose of the show is. It is to push us to greater understanding of our role as citizens in Barbados. Who am I? What do I do? What's my role? I live here in this beautiful place. What can I do? We see the situation of Barbados at this moment. We see what we're going through at this time. We see all the borrowing. We see the inflation. We go to the supermarket. We recognize how difficult it is to shop at the supermarket, how to buy fish. Fish is something people eat at Easter. You know how expensive that is. We see all the issues. We see all the corruption. We see all the mismanagement of funds, the mismanagement of our various resources. We see it. We see the disregard and disrespect of our people by our leaders. The question is, what are we going to do to change this? What can we do? What can we do? We don't just want to say what the issues are, but we want to be able to sit down and ask ourselves, okay, so today is when's the March the 27th? What can I do for Barbados today? And that's really what is on my heart. I wanted to get that out to us. I was doing my garden, and I had a big heap. I piled up a big heap of, debris of trees and things that I cut down, the grass from the front. I just piled up in the very back behind the garden. And I looked at that pile, that heap, and it just seemed like, this whole set of, oh God, garbage here, it seems like to me. What am I going to do? I need to get rid of it. And as we started to clear, it was so difficult to clear. It's like this big, I mean, taller than I am. and we started to clear it, but it wasn't trash that was there. It was leaves and trees and things that we cut down, to create the garden, that we are the current garden. As we clear, we saw the beautiful soil at the bottom because of all the breakdown of the leaves and so on. And I'm just amazed at this is now the best soil. It is the best soil in the entire garden. What am I saying? We're seeing how the debt is piling up. We're seeing all that is so wrong, the mismanagement, the bad governance, and we're thinking, oh my goodness, how are we going to get this done? How is it going to happen? How are we going to move this? How are we going to get back our beautiful Barbados? How are we? Oh, what are we to do? And what I want to say to us is to start one step at a time. Start moving that debris, moving it. Everybody get involved. Somebody move a tree limb. Somebody move some leaves from here. Some of this branch that fell. Everybody start to do their part. Is it education? Can you do something about education? How about the young people, the guys that's just sitting there and nothing to do? I was speaking with a young man that was helping me today, and he was helping me to understand. He says, "Ma'am, you all don't understand us. You don't understand why people steal." He says, "We have to steal. We don't have anything to eat." He was explaining to me why people are stealing. And as much as I'm saying it's wrong, he's saying the problem is that we don't have compassion on the young people, and to understand that they can't even find work. It's very bad at this time. But are we going to just look at the pile of what is bad, and the bad governance and the debt and the lies and the corruption, and we fold our hands or we point a finger? What are we going to do? Start dealing with it one piece at a time. Education, is that the area you can work on? Youth, is youth the area? Sports, economics, what is the area? What is it? We each have what Barbados needs. We have it. What Barbados needs, we have it. We have the skill set to do it inside this country. Don't listen to them that they have to get people from overseas. We have the skill sets right here in Barbados. And I came with that on my heart to say. And I like to be transparent. I normally greet you before I start. I just wanted to get that out and to say, stay strong, stay focused, don't give up. Don't say, why are we coming on here every night? Will anything really change? Don't say that. Or even if you say that, pick yourself up again. And I want you to consciously start thinking on, what can I do to make this situation better in my country? What can I do? We understand we have leaders and they're not doing their part. But you know what? We're not going to sit down and we're not going to wait on them. We are going to do our part. Yes? Good night, Barbados. How are you? Oh my Lord. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, 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 yes. Good night, everybody that's joining. Let me see my people here. Heathcliff, thank you so much for joining. Every time that you join, you are becoming part of the solution, Heathcliff. Victoria's Queen, thank you. Sylvia Rock, thank you. Heathcliff, please give me a call. Please give me a call, 236-7000. Heathcliff, on a project, something that we want to do. Give me a call, okay? Sylvia Rock, good evening. Junie Rock, good evening. Are you all related? Marcia, my namesake, good evening. Clive Osborne, good evening. Cecilia, Milia, oh wow. Tyrone Nurse, without you guys joining, Tyrone, Cecilia, Clive, then there's no show. And every time you join, it is saying that you want to be part of the solution. This show is about solutions. Nigel Carrington, good night. Yuslin King, good night. Zaire Campbell, Good night. Remim 607 says, greetings, loyal, patriotic opposition. Stay focused on issues and don't be distracted with sideshows. We are the agents of change. Yes. Fall in line. Operation Rescue and Restore BIM forward. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's it. That's what I'm talking. Staying focused. Staying focused. We are the agents of change in this country. We are what Barbados needs. I am what Barbados needs at this moment. I am that. I am that thing. I am that policy. I am that sense of purpose. I am that. Whatever Barbados needs, I am that. You believe that? Do you believe it? I am that. Tell yourself that. Sir Alfred Benjamin, good evening from Brooklyn, NYC, in the house. My diaspora massive. Where my diaspora massive? Where they are? Llewellyn Eiffel. Oh my Lord. Owen Hines, Bev Grimmett, a Coxable. Born again. Good evening. FX Trading. Judith Ann Clark. Tyrone Nurse. Yes, Easy D, good night. CG, good night. Wendy Forth Griffith, good night. Hasbra, good night. Sandra Carter. Judithan Clark, good night. Diana Husbands, good night. Selma Yearwood, how are you? Good night. Jefferson Suburbs, Mervyn Marius, look at the answers to Barbados. We are the answers to everything that's happening Barbados. We are the answers. Every one of you. Sugarcane King, we've got it, guys. Don't give up on your ideas to help Barbados. Locked on from London, Marcy. Hey, Marcy from London. Emerson Bob. Paul Messiah. Good night, Paul. How are you? Liana Bell. Sandra Watkins. Oh, my Lord. My people are all on. Tony Paris. Beverly Prescott. Okay. Oh, wow. Marlene Griffith. Um, yes. Tyrone Nurse, Randall Bushel, just in time. Oh my Lord, Coraline Cadogan. Oh wow, Angela Ferguson, Sasha Yearwood. Good night, guys. Good night, Coraline Cadogan and Sandra Watkins. I know some people say you're calling everybody name. I'm gonna call as many as I can. I can't call everybody's, but you know, we are the answers, and I want to welcome you, because if you don't log on, then there is no discussion, there's no education. We'll be talking in the wind, but you're on and change is happening. We're changing our thinking, and that's so important. And we're doing this together. We're doing it together. We've come on here and we've raised money for that young man to get a laptop. We did it in one night, in one single show. We were able to pay for marches, over 10 marches that we've done, plus roadside parliaments. You know how much money we've raised? That's a lot of money that we've raised, right? Almost $3,000 each time that we go out, sometimes more than that if we add Independence Square. And we've raised that money on this show. Do you understand that? We have raised that money on this show. We're talking about thousands of dollars raised on here to pay for marches and to pay for roadside parliaments and to take care of the lady who fell in the well and all. Do you remember all of those projects? We did that together. We did it together. Barbados, what's happening right now in Barbados, we can do it together. And that's why I call everybody's name, as many as I can call, because this is not a one-man show. This is not about the panelists. Tyrone Nurse, Monica, hi Richard Burke, Elaine's Rivers. Oh my Lord, Tony Paris, good night. Robert M.H. Yes, and I think I have to stop now because time is gone from me. But guys, Sanchez, good night. Mr. B, Rachel Thurnill, good night. Everton Waite, good night. Good night, folks. Doc Costa Fields, I don't think I saw you before. Yes. Oh, Lord. Galvez, oh my God, Galvez and her family, they support, they give their resources, they support, and I just want to commend her. Good night, Rose. Good night, and we have to play the anthem. And I'm late. My guest is in already, and I'm late because of how we started. But I will give him back his time. All right, so we're going to go right in, and we are going to play our anthem. You know, we're not starting without that anthem. And I'm hoping that you have shared already. I hope you have shared already. Yes, and greater shall our nation grow in strength and unity. And that's what happens on this show. Strength and unity is what happens on this show. Yeah? Strength and unity. That's what happens. It's about this. It's about this. It's about this. I've grown to love this country, and I will do whatever I can once I have breath in my body for this country. God bless Barbados. Yes. I have Mr. Glenn Murray here.
Good night.
Good night, Mr. Murray. You're going to need to turn me off. I think I'm hearing myself coming back in through your whatever device you're listening to me on.
Elaine,
Yeah, so Mr. Murray is sorting that out. Yes, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Mr. Murray is sorting that thing out. But you know, while he's doing that, listen, somebody said that they want to hear the jingle again. And I don't know if I have the correct one. I'll see, but I'll just play something.
I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. Good at maths nor English. English. Pretending to be good. I pretending to be good. Just pretending to be good. I pretending to be good. I just pretending to care about people. 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 Pretending, and I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending, to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. I'm pretending to be good. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people. And I'm pretending to be good at maths nor English. I just pretending to care about people.
Oh Lordy, my head is going. Let me see if Mr. Murray is ready. Good night, Mr. Murray.
Good night. Are you hearing me clear now? No interference,
Yes,
no
no
feelings.
interference. Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear. Well, yes,
Thank you.
there is an echo. There's an echo going on. I'm not sure why.
There shouldn't be any reason. There's nothing wrong with me that should generate an echo.
Echo.
Maybe my voice is becoming deeper.
But it's good to see you tonight.
Thanks for having me, and I look forward to a stimulating conversation with you and your viewers and listeners as usual.
Yes. Yes, they enjoyed that song a while ago. They enjoyed the song.
I must say that just like in other societies, uh, opportunities often present themselves where the average citizen can demonstrate their imagination, their creativity, and their insightfulness and their own interpretation of people and things and events. So that's good for democracy. That's good for freedom of speech and freedom of expression.
Yes, most definitely. Yes, they're telling me there's an echo. So I whenever I speak, there is an echo. So I'm not sure if it's on me. But let me let you go ahead. Go ahead, and I know that you want to talk about the civil service tonight, and so we're going to just let you go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, I am probably going to do a very strange thing tonight. I'm coming out in praise of the Barbados Civil Service. Civil servants are usually in Barbados who are the butt of jokes and criticism. They're stereotyped. Uh, they don't normally have a very popular reputation with the public. They're often being accused of bureaucracies and bureaucratic things to prevent things from happening smoothly and safely. But I want to come out and take a stand on behalf of the Barbados Civil Service. Let me confess I'm an avowed devotee and supporter and disciple of it. I had my first grounding in the world of work and in the Ministry of Education in the civil service. And it taught me many things that have lasted me well the rest of my life. Apart from that, the Barbados Civil Service has an outstanding record of public service, um, where we have served this country, where the service has served this country, all governments, um, very well for hundreds of years. And I say hundreds of years because there was a civil service in Barbados before we were independent. All the time we were a colony, we had a civil service. It was a colonial civil service because we were a colony. They were the power brokers. But even since then, we and they were and I don't know. I'm not one of these people who thinks that it was everything bad and correct and odious and hateful and inefficient and ineffective with the colonialism or colonial powers and colonial activities or colonial principles and practice. We inherited some good practices from the colonial system, which we have carried on into our civil service had made Barbados so productive and so effective. A country that you've grown to love, Marcia. A country which I've loved from birth. From birth. So I know how you feel. But the thing is that the civil service is a very important and crucial institution in Barbados. Without the civil service, the police force, education, the economy, the family, all these are important social institutions. And I like to say to give people context, part of the reasons why Haiti is in the situation it is today is that it has never over the years been able to generate a professional civil service that has served the country in a way we have in Barbados to the largest possible extent. And that has weakened the administration, the growth, the development of the country. in any way. So we really cannot do with the civil service. Every country, especially every progressive country in the world, must have a civil service, must have a bureaucracy. And a bureaucracy is merely an institution that has rules, regulation, practices, has an hierarchy. Somebody's in charge, people have responsibilities, a clear line of demarcation between posts and what they do. So it's a structured um, system desired to give predictable results. If you follow all the rules, all the steps, do all things that you should get a particular outcome and should not depend on an individual person giving their personal interpretation of a situation and giving a personal judgment. So that is one of the things, one of the benefits of a bureaucracy. And those who might want to know more about bureaucracies, there's a man called a German sociologist called Max Weber. Max, Maxweber, Max Weber. Read that, and he gives you an excellent outline of what is a bureaucracy, the history, the philosophy, the principles, the practices, strengths, the weaknesses, etc. So, but the thing is, what I'm talking about now is having served this well for so long that I know one time the former Prime Minister, Mr. Barr, described him as an army of occupation, but I think that was when he was on his bad moves. It was at the time when he was under a lot of public pressure because of the very controversial um, constitutional amendment dealing with the civil service and judge, etc., in 1974. But at the same time, he has headed administrators that have brought us outstanding results with outstanding public servants. But what I've detected now is that there's a move afoot where things are being done with bits and pieces, and there's no philosophy, there's no explanation, there's no policy, they're not outcome stated. Things you hear things just happen. For example, I've heard it mentioned, and I came across again during the estimates when I heard about the efficiency unit, and it comes under the Ministry of uh, uh, something innovation, science, and technology. I read the what is now called the efficiency unit, a very bland name that says nothing, does not sell itself, does not tell you what you do. That has come to replace the Office of Public Sector Reform. And let me declare an interest. I had the honor of setting up the Office of Public Sector Reform in 1997, and it lasted until I think 2018 when it was absorbed into the Ministry of the Civil Service, and now it is now called the Efficiency Unit. I suspect at the behest of the IMF, because once you hear efficiency means all kinds of things: reduction in numbers, expenditure, improvements in services. But efficiency does not always imply for the IMF what we think it means, a positive outcome. So we have missed. A missed is supposed to do uh, monitor, create standards, create improvements, things that used to be done by the same Ministry of the Civil Service, Office of Public Sector Reform, which was anything. It lasted for 21 years. I would say from 1997 to 2018 at least. So, and it did some good work. As a matter of fact, the darlings of the public now, the Immigration Department, who who are deservingly praised for the quality of the improved quality of their output and their public relations and their human and their client relations. That the outcomes that you see now began with the very same Office of Public Sector Reform, and then it was stalled for a couple of other reasons, which I tell you. But we thought it'd be important to look at institutions with which the public had the maximum input. Most people have to go at one time or another. So we dealt with the post office. They started some good work. We dealt with the immigration department. And we dealt with the registry where you go to get your baptism, the birth certificates. All those were you could not do all at one time, but we decided to start on things that affect and impact on the Barbadian public in their everyday life to make life easier for them. The post office, for example, we started to leave. If you wanted a form to get a passport form or other forms in government, rather than having to go down to the government printer or some government department, you could have collected them from the post office, centralize it, brought the society closer together to the post office. You could we would send also forms to federal agencies, passport forms. So if you want a passport, you don't have to go into town and go. They could do. those kind of practical things that we sought out to do. And I'm very pleased that it has been revived and restarted, resuscitated under the immigration department. The point where now it is now um, being praised for its outcome. And I think it'd be interesting to see how the efficiency I'm still trying to get accustomed to the name. It's such a weak name that I'm finding it hard to remember. Efficiency unit. Um, I'm waiting to see what it will do, the programs that it will undertake. The Office of Public Sector Reform came in 1997 after we had a national consultation in 1996 with the cabinet, permanent secretaries, Office of Related Grades, and a cross-section society where we discuss what we want to do and also came up with a template, as they call it, a plan, a blueprint for public sector reform. And then we went into it in earnest. We had a logo. We had a jingle, which I have not heard in years. We have a logo. And we have a slogan, making Barbados work better. And I must take credit for that. We tried all kind of consultants to come up with ideas as to what would be a suitable and appropriate slogan. And at the end, I at a meeting, I said, they were very wordy and long. I said, we need something which is tight, crispy, sends an instant message. I said, all we're trying to do is make Barbados work Barbados. I said, okay, that's it, making Barbados work Barbados. So you only see it now on the top of your letterheads. I don't know if that is going to be replaced by the efficiency user. But I'm saying then that we need what is happening through the efficiency user represents a trend in this government where major things are being done with the public service, and there are no announcements, there are no declarations, there's no information to the public, there's no guidance, and they must come down very hard on the public sector unions, the Barbados Support Workers Union, and especially the National Union of Public Workers, who have gone on very meekly and mildly and mealy mouthy and has allowed an institution which has stood the test of time for hundreds of years to be downgraded and degraded, just like repeatedly, consistently, as this ad hoc approach, because there's no clear cut philosophy, there's no clear cut message that is guided. It seems as though they took ideas from when the government changed, and we first had something called a survey, a monkey survey, where they polled the public online to gather ideas as to how to reform and shape the post-abolish job to shut down and that sort of thing. And they were supposed to use that most unscientific method as a way to determine how they're going to quote unquote make the public service more efficient. I suspect this move with the public service, civil service, and the efficient unit is in the same mode, because, like I said, there's no announcement, and people are left to guess what it means. And it ties in with, like, for example, the question of contracts, which seems to become the norm in the civil service. The contracts, the the contracts were the subject of a very heated discussion on a call-in program which I used to take part in some time ago. I had two ministers online on the program. They sent two ministers to represent the government on this contract matter. Because when it came up, I knew it did make sense to me. And that's when the chief agriculture officer was the first appointee. There was a disagreement on air as to the policy. One minister said there was a policy. One minister said no. We have to discuss. It's supposed to. There's never been a stated policy. It's just been done. And then we had the Ministry of Education. So I'm amazed that the representatives of the public service could allow that to be done to their clients. Not only that, but I call it institutional homicide, where you're killing off step by step the virtue, the essence of the society for some unstated, some before any stated and clearly unstated and determined means. And I think Barbados is going to be the worst of it. We used to export. We were so good. We had such a strong reputation for good governance and good performance by the civil service. We used to literally export civil service down through the islands and further field. So all of a sudden, they're being made to feel that they're no good because it seems as though some people in the public service, the way I understand that, adopted the Jeff Bezos, that's his name, Jeff Bezos, the philosophy, which is move fast and break things. Move fast and break. In other words, you don't have to sit down and carefully plot and examine. You do things, and whatever happens, you put back together, you move on. You cannot afford to do that with the civil service or any serious credible institution. It's ad hoc, it's reckless, and I think that that the unions have to jump onto government's back. How could government do this with no known consultations, briefings, explanation, actual opinion? It really is quite horrendous. I must say so. One of the reasons why I find so offensive, having had the honor to have day-to-day responsibility for the Ministry of the Civil Service for 9 years, this is unthinkable. Same Barbados Labour Party, but a different philosophy, a different approach. They're in a big hurry to do what I don't know. And I would urge that Barbadians to appreciate what the public service, what they do, and remember that the public service that you meet at the counter or over the phone, if they answer the phone, is has a supervisor, as a manager. The problem I found with the public service, the civil service, is that the managers and supervisors did not do their job. They were afraid to become, quote unquote, become unpopular because they would have to chastise or discipline a junior, a subordinate. Some would say, I don't want my car get scratched up. I don't want somebody slap my child. So there was a fear, and it's the same fear that is preventing them from speaking out on their own behalf, in their own defense, regarding what is being done to the civil service.
Yeah. You know, okay, I'm still. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you loud and clear.
What I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off your mic while I speak because I think that's the issue. Right. So I was saying to you, Mr. Murray, that I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, what would you suggest if you had, say, two suggestions? What would you say? Would you suggest to make the public sector, the civil servants or civil service more effective? Well, give me what are two suggestions? Looking at what you see now, you are part of the public sector reform. 21 years or more ago. Well, actually, when you were part of it, it lasted. What you set up and your team set up lasted 21 years, and that was changed in 2018. Now, looking at it now, what would you suggest to make it more effective?
Firstly, you'll have to re-engage the civil service. What we did not go top down and instruct on what we want. We set up what was called internal reform committees. Each department, each ministry had its own internal reform committee where they made their own suggestions for improvements, any more criticisms, etc. And then we used that way, all those were fed into the Office of Public Sector Reform, where people had particular duties to deal with particular aspects of it. The first thing, you have to re-engagement. The problem we found with that program was that it also involved 360-degree evaluation. Everybody, first of all, we had a performance review development system where you had just a short interview at the end of a year, out of which you'd be appraised, and that would help determine your promotion, etc., or your retention in the service. We had a performance review development system where you were supposed to meet with your supervisor at the beginning of the year, state your goals and policies, what they had for you. You agree on that, and then you have periodic reviews, and then at the end of the year, there'll be a final review. So, but the thing is that the seniors in the public service, the PSs and whatnot, resisted because they themselves would have to be reviewed by their juniors. And they objected because they thought it was weakening their power and their control, and that they should not be subject to the same review as other people. And it lost some of its momentum because of that. But first of all, you have to re-engage them, reestablish their their worth as individual employees of the public service, the importance of their role, and make sure you look at the terms and conditions in a systematic, comprehensive way, um, so that people can feel that they're valued, that what they're doing matters, that they're being heard, that what they do it counts, etc. Make them feel important once again, and stop the beating upon them. Not that they don't deserve uh, individually sometimes to get beaten up, criticized, but as a stereotype, just like how there are stereotypes about black people or white people or Indian, there are also stereotypes about public service, which people repeat as a matter of truth without any evidence or any fact. So I think that we have to go back to those kind of practical um, steps that re-engage this public service, listen to them, get their own ideas, because I'm sure people's ideas would have changed over time since 1997. But the thing is that why ideas and circumstances might change, the needs of people remain the same. You know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that has stood the test. If you read the Bible, you see some of those same principles and practices in philosophy represented in the teachings of the Bible. So people have not changed people's need for self-esteem, high regard, being able to realize their dreams, actualize themselves. They say all those are security of tenure, um, a job to give them relevance, to help feed their family. Those are secure. Those are things that people will always have always needed. So if you get back to the basics, I think that in itself will go a long way. But do not treat them as though offhand, as though allow consultants and advisors who do not know each institution has its own culture. And no consult, no matter how good you might think she might be, cannot come and tell you more about your culture than you know already. So that's the first thing. Let me take what I mean. In the year 2000, when there was this talk of when the year changed from 1990 to 2000, that where computers were supposed to break down, they're not sure what's going to happen with airplanes. They had this fable being spread around the world by the Americans, and people were calling us and offering us programs and lectures on how to avoid this issue. And Prime Minister Arthur Seller Committee, I was the chairman, the late Senator Darcy Boyce was the vice chairman. And we examined it with the public servants, the police, the hospital, the airport, and we concluded it does not mean the mere turning of a digit on a device cannot trigger anything untoward in the institutions, cannot crash the whole system. And we said, okay, we will monitor it, but we set up where people monitor individual units, but we did not spend a red cent. But in the meantime, people were breaking down our doors trying to convince us as advisors, as consultants, that they would give us the answers and solutions to ward off any problem. So I'm saying that I've always had inherent strength, ideas, innovative ideas from within the public service if they are given a chance to flourish and be utilized.
Yeah. Thanks, Mr. Murray. So what I hear you saying is the re-engagement of the public service, the public sector. You are asking for um, internal review of each sector, where they're involved in reviewing themselves, their peers, and even those who are above them, and to make them feel important. I see there's some people that are, responding online, and they are giving their opinions on what should happen to the public sector. And someone said, for starters, they could start answering the phones. I can't remember who. Diana Seeley said that. And then somebody said that the government that should need to get out of the running the civil service. And so I don't know. They're very much have their hands into everything. So I don't know how they're going to get out of doing that. But I see Mr. Franklin is on, and I want to say a pleasant good night to him. And he knows we're talking about the civil service. Our topic is the secret downgrading and devaluation of the civil service. Because Mr. Murray is saying what he's seeing is that they're not giving them much prominence. They're not, they're now calling them the efficiency unit, and he's not even sure what they do. And it can be, it seems like they're being demoralized, and he's calling on the unions really to stand up on behalf of the public sector in charge, on behalf of the civil service. Mr. Franklin, any thoughts there? You're muted.
Yeah. Good night, everyone, and thanks for having me again. I took 10 tries to get on this program tonight,
I
so
saw.
you know, I don't know what's happening, but I'm here, and I missed a lot of what Glenn was saying, but I came in a time when he was talking about the civil servants, the supervisors and managers are afraid to manage. That is true, and why it is true, because of political interference in the public service. When there is a process that does not involve a politician in either getting a job, in either disciplining people or anything like that, and dismissals, but they feature in all of them. Example: Pedro Shepard and Alvin Bob. They ran during the last election campaign, and politicians insisted that they got the charge. And the nincompoop chief education officer, who didn't have the authority, went ahead and start the process against them. Not her job. It says the permanent secretary or head of department. She is neither. But she went out there and then people follow through. The problem is, you know, civil servants do what the politicians want. In her case, she's on contract. So she don't do what the prime minister and her ministers want. She's not going to get another contract. So she has to do stupidness. I don't know if she knows better or that she's just trying to save her job and hold on to the job. Probably don't want to go back teaching physics. I do not know. But that is the problem. Some managers are afraid to do their job because 90% of the people in the public service got jobs by some politician or the other. And when you try to discipline them or to exert any sort of control over them, they go back to the minister who got the job for them. And then calls come down and you look like a fool because you can't do your job. So the demoralization starts from recruitment. You take the minister, he gets a job for a person. I work with a minister who got jobs with people, and I've heard him say to them, look, I can help you get a job, I can help you keep it. But he was one out of God knows how many. And sometimes I gave that speech for him when he wasn't there, you know. But he would always tell them, I can help you to get a job, but I can't help you keep it. Go and do your job. And I remember one day a guy did something silly, and my minister was home with dengue. And many people called me. I said, fire him. He's stolen. And he said, but I said, you do fire him. My minister don't take that kind of crap. And of course, I would go home to him, and even as I would take the files and stuff and let him know what happened during the day. So when I told him what happened, he said, well, Kaz, you're damn right. Because he wasn't going to tolerate that type of behavior. But you do not get that caliber of minister anymore.
Mhm.
You know, mind you, he had gotten a job with the fella, you know. And the fellow went there and do stupidness. And I knew that he would have I
Ca-
get no feedback.
Ca- Caswell, have you heard what this so-called efficiency unit, which is supposed to replace the Office for Public Sector Reform? Do you know about it? For example, do you also know who is the chairman of the various commissions, their members? All those things which used to be public knowledge are no secrets. But do you
Um,
know of the efficiency unit?
I heard that one exists. I don't know who are the members. I don't even know the members of the commission these days because the names of the commission were always published. The last person I know was chairing what used to be the Public Service Commission was John Williams. Again, had no right there at all whatsoever. But he's passed, and I don't want to speak ill of the dead. I find very little to speak proper of him, so I'm going to say anything. He did not know what the hell he was doing. Didn't have the necessary training, didn't have the ability, but he bluffed his way, and he messed up almost everything he put his hands on, and he helped to mess up the public service because that is what they want. Then you will see the public service now being destroyed from within, like people taking segments and making them boards. When you have a board, the minister is responsible for the board ultimately,
Mm.
and the board reports to the minister. That is not the civil service way. The only thing a minister can do in the public service is the minister of the public service who can set conditions of service, who can, and that's their job. The law says so. Who can set the conditions of service, who can set salaries, who can set qualifications. But these are always done on consultation with the unions or whoever, unions and the staff associations. Now we have a situation where when you set up the job, Public Service Act, Section 3, even temporary officers are supposed to be governed by the commission. But we don't have that. The politicians get involved and destroy everything they put their hands on. I always talk about the reverse Midas touch, but that is what happens in the public service. So the
Yeah.
public service is demoralized and come look what happened at national insurance. There was absolutely, I hear people and even in newspapers reporting that they're going to change national insurance into a board. That was so funny. National insurance was a board from 1966. It has always been a board. What the people didn't tell you is that that was a board of a different kind because Barrow, the great excellent Errol Barrow, he determined that the national insurance fund can be so big that you don't really want people you want people to deal with the fund, national insurance fund, to invest it, to do all of kind of stuff. You don't want them to concern themselves about who can work late. Let that go with the professionals who deal with personnel. Used to call it personnel in those days. They call it human resource management. And I know people this and people that, but it is same personnel issues. This administration decided, we want to control the staff. We can pick who we want. So the commission now is no longer responsible for picking national insurance staff. That is the only change of any significance when it comes to the board. It was always a board, but the board staff were civil servants. That was the only board of its kind in Barbados, where the staff were public officers. And according to them, their own people, they did a creditable job. That was what I heard Roland Adams say on the Brass Stats program today when he and I were on the program together. He said they did a creditable job. So it wasn't that they were doing a bad job and you wanted to find another way. No, you wanted to get your hands on the job. And that's what they have done.
Yeah.
So what they did now is to go and go make every other public officer angry because the person who is a clerical officer at National Insurance and a clerical officer now at someplace else, the National Insurance fellow is getting 15-20% more salary. Some of them have gotten 40% increases in salary. That was to bribe them to go over to this board so the minister could control them. And they went about 20 or so said they're going.
Yeah.
Because they
See,
understood that easy come, easy go. When you're in the public service and they want to take you out, they still have to go through a process that takes you all the way to the president. And if the president agrees, then you appeal to the Privy Council or the soon to be established, and that was soon to be established in 2007, the soon to be established Public Service Appeals Board. So you don't have a situation where the minister can call the chairman and the chairman can have a little meeting and then they get rid of you. Like at Bra sent home people without going through any process or any proper process. They are not alone. And the Financial Services Commission now is doing the same thing. They have
right.
now started to restructure their organization and they don't have authority to do so. The Ministry of the Public Service, now they call it public service, not civil service anymore. The Ministry of the Public Service are the only people responsible for terms and conditions, even at the statutory boards. But now
But
you have, I
there's
understand, the
change.
Ministry of Finance or somebody else has determined that they're going to change up the system at the
Yeah.
Financial Service Commission, give everybody a job and say, but you got to do everything inside here. So if you were trained in a particular area, they can give you a job or you go or they tell you you got to take it but we are making you redundant, and you got to apply for it. Redundancy, you might say no. No, that's nonsense. You don't have to apply for redundancy if they change your job and you don't recognize your job from the one you had, you're redundant.
Yeah.
But the
Well,
first one, they can't do it.
Lemuel Tull is saying here the government should not be running the civil service. That is why you have permanent secretaries and heads of department. In England, permanent secretaries earn more than their ministers. So he's just
Yes.
making that comment. Let me just say to Mr. Moore, Mr. Moore, we're having. I realize that it's somehow it's your microphone. There's an echo. I'm going to ask if you could go off. I'm going to ask you to go and try again. It's just the technology and what's happening. I don't know why, but we're both hearing an echo, and I went and put on my headphones thinking it's me. So we're going to have that interference for the rest of the night if we don't address it. But Mr. Franklin, your last quick comment on this topic, and we have to move on.
I
Go
want
ahead.
to agree with Lemuel Tull because it used to be so too in Barbados. Tom Adams changed it. And then only after change, you went with parliamentary secretaries to get more than PS as well. The permanent secretaries are the one who actually do the work. The ministers come with policy. In England, the minister responsible for the treasury, the permanent secretary of treasury, makes more money than the prime minister. And the permanent secretary in each individual ministry earns more than the minister because the minister is not in charge of anything. But you see ministers now talking about my staff. And you have, for instance, we have Abrams going on the meetings of immigration officers and talking to them. That's not his job. He talks to the chief.
Yeah.
And then the chief will come back and say, well, I had a meeting with the minister, this is what we discussed. No, but he's down there and asking questions to staff. This has been told to me only yesterday. You know, he ain't got no calling in there. They don't know their job. And the body ain't
Yeah.
taking time to show them. And that is why we are being, the public service is being
Yeah.
marginalized and destroyed. And then Glenn was talking about the consultants. You bring a lot of consultants, and consultants not giving instructions. They're not employed in the public service, but they're instructing public officers.
Yes. Yes. Well, Mr. Franklin, thank you so much for your input in that particular area. Well, we want to move on. I know that there are a couple things that we want to discuss. There's something that was said by one of the senators, the independent
Yes.
senators. But before I could go there, I want to read a WhatsApp message that has been going around. And this is a letter that was written to COB Credit Union by Peter Mac D. Earl. Um, and so he's asking some questions, and I thought that it was worthy to read the letter on this program, and hoping that the powers that be would respond to Mr. Earl, because a lot of us would like to know. Um, the letter reads, and Mr. Franklin, you can make a quick comment and then we move on to the other area. Inquiry regarding rumored government financing partnership and past losses. Concerned member, Mr. Bell. As a founding and long-standing member of COB, I'm writing to you with a matter of concern that has recently come to my attention. There have been circulating rumors suggesting that credit unions, including our own, are considering and or have been asked to assist the government through a local brokerage firm in financing the deficit to the tune of 135 million. Given the gravity of such a decision, I felt compelled to reach out to you directly to seek clarification on this matter. As a concerned member, I cannot overstate the importance of understanding the potential ramifications of such a significant financial undertaking. Particularly, I am troubled by the implications of investing such a substantial sum in government financing, especially in light of our past experiences. It is a matter of record that when the government restructured the local debt in 2018, COB incurred significant losses amounting to millions of dollars. I attended a meeting at that time with Minister Strawn, who promised that the government would ring fence the credit union. This promise was not honored. This precedent raises pertinent questions about the prudence of further investments in government initiatives, particularly when considering our recent history. Moreover, the context of current economic climate only serves to magnify these concerns. With a projected deficit of 1.05 billion Barbados dollars for the next financial year, the government's borrowing plans are substantial, with Barbados 628 million sourced locally and Barbados 422 million from foreign sources, including the IMF. Against this backdrop, any decision by COB to participate in financing the deficit warrants thorough examination and consideration of potential risks and benefits. Therefore, I kindly request that you provide clarity on the veracity of these rumors and outline COB's stance and intentions regarding potential involvement in government financing initiatives. Additionally, I urge you to share insights into the decision making process and safeguards in place to protect the interests of members. As a dedicated member of COB, I believe in our institution's commitment to transparency, accountability, and prudent financial management. It is with this trust and expectation that I seek reassurance on this matter. Thank you for your attention to this important issue. I eagerly anticipate your response and remain available for any further discussion or clarification you may require. Your regards, Peter Matt D. Earl, BSc LLM. Now, I took the pains, Mr. Franklin, of reading that entire letter because there are many, many members of COB in our nation. There are lots of citizens who are members, they're part of COB, and they have been sharing this letter with me. And we on the show, we try to connect with what matters to people, and this is an issue for them. Mr. Franklin, do you have a quick comment on this? You're muted, sir.
Uh, I prefer Peter to make the comment. If you like,
Oh, he's here.
he is. Well, I just sent him the link. I said that if you agree, I can. But he's not dressed for camera, so um,
That's okay.
you,
He's here.
okay, good. So you can let him make the comment because Peter Earl. Let me introduce Peter Earl. Peter Earl is the founder of City of Bridgetown Credit Union. He's the guy who came up with the idea of City of Bridgetown Credit Union. And as a result, he guards COB very zealously. He's not on the
Yes.
board or anything, but it's his baby. So
Mm-hmm.
when anything goes wrong, Peter is always out there to get it rated. And I understand that. I've known Peter better part of my life. And I know his commitment to the credit. I know his commitment to a lot of things, but I know his commitment to the credit union is it can't be matched. So
Mm-hmm.
Peter can speak to you now rather than me telling you, repeating what, because he and I had actually discussed the whole thing when we found out what was happening.
Yes.
So
Mr. Earl, good night and welcome to the Marcia Week show, sir.
Thank you, Marcia. I'm getting a feedback on my side.
we're hearing you well, Peter.
We're hearing you well.
Fine.
Peter, are
Okay.
you still there?
Fine. Okay. Let me go ahead and say basically that the background to this has. Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead, Peter. Go ahead, Peter. We're hearing you.
Okay. The background has to do with the fact that in 2018 I attended a meeting. I attended a meeting uh, as the second vice president of the Barbados Cooperative Credit Union League. And at that meeting, Ryan Strawn promised that he would ring fence the credit unions in Barbados. That did not materialize. COB ended up uh, losing millions of dollars as a result of the restructuring that took place. So it was against that background and the rumors that I was hearing that government was thinking or had approached a number of credit unions about financing um, the deficit, that I thought I would write to the credit union to have the matter clarified. I'm still getting a lot of feedback on my end. I'm not sure why.
But we are hearing you very well.
Okay,
We don't know.
right.
Just ignore it, and yes, just we're pressing through. They're trying all
Okay,
kinds of things to stop us. Keep going.
okay, fine. Okay, okay, okay. Well, well, let me say that Mr. Bell did respond to my query, and he assured me. He said that there was they were not approached by government to finance the deficit, and he reminded me that there was a specific process in to respond to any proposal by the government. However, he did mention that COB, as well as, and I know other credit unions were approached by the government to finance hospital equipment. So far, I know that the two credit unions said no, they didn't have money to invest in such ventures. Interesting enough, the proposal included we mentioned that if government was not able to um, pay repay the credit unions in bonds, that they would pay using health levies. Now, I'm particularly concerned about that because I'm not sure exactly how that would work. And given the past history, um, are we sure we would really get back the money? Now, if you I did some research and I discovered that in London, in the UK, this is what the government was doing recently. The government decided to temporarily increase health levies in the UK in order to pay for hospital services and equipment.
Mm. How does that work? How would that work, Mr. Earl? We're hearing you properly.
I,
Thank
I
you. This
have
is
no
quite
I
interesting.
have no idea how it would work.
Can you hear? Okay. I'm not sure if he's hearing us now, Mr. Franklin. So he's saying that that he did hear from COB, and COB is saying, Mr. Bell is saying that they were not approached about I guess doing any kinds of loans or bailing out the government or anything of the sort. However, Mr. Franklin, you can correct me if you heard as well that there were some credit unions who were approached about investing in hospital equipment, and he said, to his knowledge, two of the credit unions that they um, declined. They were not interested, and that the credit unions, if they were to decide to invest in this hospital equipment, they would be given hospital levies. And he wasn't too sure how, instead of bonds, hospital levies will be given, and that this is something that is being done in the UK at the moment. Is that your understanding,
No, no,
Mister?
not hospital levies, but they would increase the health levy
The
to,
health levies.
that's what they have done in England. They increased the
Hmm.
health levy to finance the health service. However, in
Can you
Barbados,
explain that? I don't understand how that works.
there is right now, everybody who works in Barbados and pays national insurance, 2% of your contributions go to health levy. And that money
Yes.
is paid into the hospital to help finance the hospital. So that means we are paying towards our taxes because part of our taxes go toward the hospital in the beginning, and then they take another piece directly from your salary and do health levy. In England, they have increased that health levy to make more money to finance the health service. And what Peter is suggesting is that the government heard of that and they want to do the same thing because they're saying that if the credit unions invest in helping them to acquire the equipment, and they don't manage to pay them, that they will usually have levy to pay.
Ah,
They
I
will usually have
understand
levy
now.
to pay the credit unions. And
Oh.
my problem with that though, however, Marcia, is that when Bayview was being expanded, government went in there to help Bayview. Bayview is a private hospital. And they're going to be using our money, our taxes, everything else to help Bayview. And they can't use our money, our taxes to help QEH. Something is awfully wrong here. You know, I can't wait till these people go. They're doing everything wrong. Right now, they are 24-hour wait in the accident emergency department. If so little, it's more, but the minimum is 24 hours you got down there now. Unless you got shot or stabbed, bit of run right in, or a heart attack. Everything else is over 24 hours.
Mhm.
So we have the credit. They don't understand how credit unions work, and they want to get their hands on credit union money. So, but credit unions don't have a lot of cash. And if you want, like for instance, when Public Workers Credit Union went to purchase Cleco Mortgage Finance, now calling it Capital, the, the government lent them the money to buy it. So but the credit unions don't have a lot of cash laying down as a big and bite because credit unions, we use money to help each other. You, I take money from you and lend it, and you and somebody else, and I lend it to me to build a house, and lend it to somebody else to do a car. That's about send their children to school. So the biggest asset on credit union balance sheet is loans. So when you hear that we have a
Right.
lot of our assets are so many billion or whatever, it is most of that are loans. 5% of that is probably the property that the credit unions operate from. And then you got furniture, office equipment, and the vehicles that the managers drive and that kind of stuff. Credit unions don't own a lot, but they think, but because the government see all this fancy money balance sheet, they don't realize, or they don't read the balance sheet properly to realize that it is not cash. Yeah, we do have cash. We got to have some cash,
Mhm.
but the majority of that money is not cash. And government want to seem to get their hands on it.
Yeah.
They let them stay away from the credit union money. The credit
Yeah.
unions have been going very good without them. I remember when Owen Arthur was prime minister, when the government was trying to sell the Republic Bank. I was secretary of the credit union at the time. I wrote to the prime minister and said, look, the law does not allow us to buy shares. Change the law so we can get some of those shares. Didn't do it. They sell it all to Trinidad because they wanted foreign exchange. So, same thing. That same credit union wanted to buy the land at Cleco, but not Cleco, Corverley, to provide housing for our members who were laid off and to give, because Corverley had some of the deepest soils that you could find. You dig down 15 feet before you find a rock. And Public Workers Credit Union, we actually had drawings and all kind of stuff ready for that thing. And the government then said no, and they gave it to Maloney. So so they don't want to give us anything lucrative. Anytime at all the government sees something that is failing, they always try to fall it off on the credit unions. They did it. They tried to do it with the agro processing plant when Carl Williams the one get out, and they wanted us to pay over $3 million to acquire a plant that wouldn't function. They couldn't find the resources because we were not planting enough tomatoes and whatever else that they want to can to and cheap enough that you can put them in the can and process them. That would be not too expensive. No, but they try to give it to the credit unions every time. The government has something that is failing. They try to put it on the credit unions because they feel that the credit unions got idiots and they're running it. I can assure you that they don't have any idiots. As a matter of fact, the credit unions sent me on a program over three years, in the summers for 3 years. I have a diploma in credit union management. But the credit unions send us to train. So we don't go out there so blind I was on the board. I was interested, and people thought that yeah, good. I'm also they sent me to do fraud examinations. That's why you see I'm always so suspicious about people because that's what they taught me to do. I under fraud, and so I don't only apply the credit unions. I apply everywhere else where I go. But but the credit unions
Yes.
have people that are very well trained.
So they will be able to pick these things up. Let me see if Mr. Earl, are you still there? Let's see if he has one more comment before we move on from this topic. Mr. Earl, can you hear us?
Man, I'm not hearing me either.
Good night, Mr. Earl. Okay, I'm not hearing him at all. If you can message him and see, let me see if Mr. Murray situation is still the same. Good night,
I'm hearing you,
Mr.
Peter.
Murray. Good night
Yeah,
again.
Maybe you can
yeah.
use
I,
your thing so
I,
they can hear me because I am
I
not.
think yeah, I'm hearing Mr. Earl too online. Is it all right
Are
for
you
me to
hearing me?
go? What should I do, Marcia?
Yes,
Are you hearing
good
me
night.
now?
Yes, I'm hearing you and I'm not hearing
Okay.
any feedback.
No, no,
Okay.
sorry, Marcia. I have Peter on my phone, so
Yes,
that
I see. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yes.
Okay.
go ahead, Peter.
Okay. Right. My final comment is a concern in relation to the financing of the deficit. It was said basically during the debate in the Senate that 60% of the deficit will be financed through local sources and 40% through overseas sources. Um, my concern is that I believe, there's only a belief, that the credit unions will be approached. And I've asked the credit union that in the event that government approached them about financing the deficit or financing hospital equipment, that they allow the members to have a say in the decision making as far as those particular projects are concerned.
Yes, I think that is only fair, and we want to, on behalf of Barbadians, we want to thank you, Mr. Earl, for being proactive about this. My research has said that there is about $14 billion dollars in savings. Well, I mean, of course, with the credit unions and the commercial banks and so on that
Sure.
Barbadians have, and that we've heard the Prime Minister talking about the savings of Bajans, and so I know that people are on the alert, and people like yourself, Mr. Earl, we appreciate what you're doing, and we want to say thank you for it.
You're welcome.
Marcia, he's missed at least only but one or two marches. He's been on all, but two.
Okay, I see. We hope that please convey to him. We would love for him to do a follow up, and we will try to check all the technicals and so on, make sure that he can come in and present. And we want people to know COB is a reputable credit union, and this show is in no way trying to say anything negative about the credit union. Mr. Earl and everybody else is just putting all credit unions, including COB, on alert, and saying to them, if you are being approached with any suggestion of lending money to the government or paying for anything, investment or anything, let the members know and let there be a discussion. That's what we're saying. Thank you, Mr. Earl. Yes. Mr. Murray, you have a quick word on that before
Yeah.
we move on? Yes.
Out of that discussion regarding the possibility of the credit union being asked to finance hospital equipment or whatnot, it brought back to my mind one of the things that I find most unsettling, embarrassing almost about being a Barbadian today is the amount of begging that the government is now doing for do the thing to finance the things that we used to do or finance ourselves. For example, there was talk about build a new school, and that is supposed to come from the Maria Holder Trust. The basic things that we used to do, we are now asked me to volunteer. Philanthropy is supposed to become an industry. To me, it digs at the soul as respect and the dignity of our Barbadian. I recall that Prime Minister Barrow, when the United States, when we joined the United Nations, the United States offered to pay some fees for Barbados. Mr. Barrow said, "No, sir. In Barbados, we have a saying: if you can't afford the fees, you don't join the club." So I know we'll have to, I know we cannot afford everything I said, but I'm saying it's become a way of life now. A grant. Uh, People travel about and brag about how much a grant is when you ask. You let people know you would like how you get a grant rather than a loan. So it's not a real achievement. It is another form of begging. And as the Prime Minister journeys around the world, making all kind of headlines and getting all kind of adulation for the public in Barbados, it reminded me of Michael Manley in the 70s and the 80s, where Michael Manley traveled the world talking about the new international economic order, challenging the status quo, taking out the United States. He's going to change the world. Some of the same themes that the Prime Minister is in different form, but it's been the same thing. Where you ask for a better deal for smaller countries, that was it. And at the same time, Jamaica was crumbling. Jamaica was in serious trouble, financial trouble, and not
Correct.
enough attention was being paid. I am afraid when you hear these kind of half-baked ideas that came out there about getting credit unions to help finance the deficit, if they had, they should know. I would like to think that they have enough, they should have enough brains among them that to know that there's a credit union league set up by government governs the there's a registrar of cooperatives. So cooperatives in Barbados has been a serious business for a long time. They must know there's certain things that the co-ops are not, the credit unions are not supposed to do, and therefore they should not be pressuring them and trying to hoodwink them in any way.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Murray. Because of time, we've got to, this is something that we really need to get back to, and I know Mr. Earl will keep us informed about it. Mr. Franklin, there we're watching the Senate debates going on over the last 3 days actually, and one of the senators, the independent senator, um, raised an issue, and this is about the COVID jokes, and basically, he was saying that the government should come to the aid of the private sector, because the private sector, they were following instructions, which he hasn't said whose instructions they were. They were following instructions when they decided that you could not come to work if you had not taken that thing in your arm. And so my understanding is that he's saying, well, why should people be cursing us now? Why should shouldn't the government protect us from lawsuits and all of these things? I would like Mr. Franklin to take a few minutes to discuss that.
Yes, thanks, Marcia, because that was the first call I got this morning was about that. And then a few more calls during the day because people were concerned about what he said.
Hmm.
I'll tell you why. The employers, notwithstanding what the law said, were encouraged by government. They said that on this program on more than one occasion that the government urged the employers to
Hmm.
make the vaccination mandatory. Tell the employers do these things to people. Don't let them work. Force them to get the vaccine because we had to get 70% in order to get some of that money from Biden, and they were pushing us and forcing us. Employers sat down and they felt protected and comfortable because the government, members of the government, were telling them to ensure that their staff get vaccinated, despite what the law that this same administration passed just a few months earlier. The law is simple. Section 6 of the Employment Prevention of Discrimination Act says you can't do that. But the
Yes.
government haven't passed that law because they passed that law in 2020. Having passed that law in 2020, they then turn around and encourage employers to breach it. And
Mm.
every time I would call upon the Minister of Labor to speak up on behalf of the workers because, and he wouldn't do it. Even when the Labor Department told an employer, no, you can't do that. They ignore them because the Labor Department, who by law is supposed to regulate these things, the employers felt, well, I'm getting instructions from higher than you.
Mm-hmm.
So they ignore the and that is written in the one of the letters from Rubis that the labor department told them they can't do it. But I have those exhibits still. The labor department wrote to Rubis and said, no, you cannot do that, and that you got to follow the law, and quoted the law for them. Rubis ignored, because Rubis, they sat down with certain people in the government, and they were assured, oh, go ahead, you got our backing. Yet still, when they try to do it to the nurses, we went on strike, because
Mm-hmm.
they can't force you. According to the legislation, it says, subject to Section 8, an employer shall not require a person to answer questions in relation to or undergo a test for a medical condition as a precondition to entering into a contract of employment or as a condition for the continuance of employment. That is against the law. But the government told employers, don't mind what that law says.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
You go ahead and get and rather than getting the Senate and say, oh, we want to protect workers and protect employers, he, as a senator who is bound to obey the laws of Barbados and to follow the Constitution, should say to the employ should have said to the employers, but he wasn't a senator then, but he should say to them, look, we were wrong, because now, having become a senator, I think there's a set of the laws of Barbados. You might start reading them. He now should know, and they should not be covered, because each employer who force a person on pain of punishment or dismissal to get that thing in their arm, and the person got sick, I believe that that employer is liable for those injuries. You forced them. You forced them, and you should now have to pay. So when he talking about government should protect them, no, he should know. He should be saying to the government, you know, you were wrong. You shouldn't have done that. You are a government, and you are not supposed to tell us ways how to breach the law, because the in essence, the employers were following government's directives. Government, a bunch of people out there who made the same law, because this law was passed by the Barbados Labour Party. I remember the exact day when it was passed. I never forget that day. That was the day when I accused Lisa Cummings of trying to get everybody in Senate COVID, and we walked out. It was passed that day, so I never got a chance to help debate it. They just brought it up and passed it that day. So whatever day that was, I don't remember the day because I didn't keep it in my mind. But they passed that law, and then they encouraged people to breach that law. Just like they passed a law to say that you can't take an advantage from somebody, and people taking $7,500 checks. That's against the law that they put in place. You know? So
That's
everything so that's what I'm saying to you. This government has too much to answer for. If when they go before St. Peter, I want to get there first, because I can spend the whole week in the line after them confessing, you know. It can be too long. I gotta get
yeah.
there before them.
You know,
They have
somebody's asking me, Mr. Franklin, they want to get a bit more of the background, and then we just have, we really have to switch to another topic here. But just let me just read a little bit. They want to know which senator is the independent Senator Andrew Malalu. I think that's the
yeah.
way he pronounced his name. And he said this in the Senate, was said today in the Senate.
No, yesterday.
Yesterday, I'm sorry, yesterday in the Senate. Yesterday in the Senate. It was carried in the newspaper today. And what he's saying is that the government should come out and support employers who are being vilified after following the COVID-19 directives issued during the pandemic. And he says that there should be laws protecting employers against lawsuits under similar circumstances. And he says he won't go into details, but it is in the public record. I would go as far as to say that in cleaning up the legacy of COVID-19, which we all want to put behind us, we should consider legislation that would protect the employers who simply followed the directives and did what they were asked. And so the question people are asking is, what do you mean that employers did what they were asked? If what you were asked were unjust, is what Mr. Franklin is saying, you as an employer should have spoken out. Did the government tell you to give incentives to those who chose to, to take the job? Do you know that that is discrimination? Yeah. So, yeah, basically that's it.
Uh, you see,
One more
he,
comment and then
he,
we move on, Mr.
he is
Franklin.
mixing up two things. The government did not give any directives. The directives were published in the official gazette and put up there. There was never a directive that said that they're going to suspend the operation of this law and give them permission to do that. What he correctly said was what government asked them to do. If government asked you to do, I suppose I had tell them go out there and kill somebody, they were going to do it. And that is exactly what happened with these jobs. You want to kill people. And we have it on record, and all over the world is a record. The only place in the world that did not acknowledge that the vaccine, that the jabs, harm people is Barbados. Every place else, I think Japan, just recently banned the use of those things on their people because of two or so many sudden deaths. You know, the people just walking on the road and pop off.
But
And
so
Barbados refused to
basically,
acknowledge it.
yeah, basically everybody should be absolved, is what this senator is saying. The government and the private sector, people who have lost their lives, lost their livelihood, all of that. But that is, in order to put this whole COVID-19 behind us, is what this senator is saying. Well, we have with us tonight. We have with us Miss Heather. Heather Cole is with us. Yes, and she is asking for a couple 1 minute. Yeah. And Heather is going to talk to us about Joe's River, because apparently there is some activity started back there again. And for those of you who don't know what has happened there at Joe's River, Mr. Franklin, can you give our audience, while Heather is setting herself up there, give us a backdrop of Joe's River, the situation there?
Well, I followed it not very closely when it was happening. Apparently, some person acquired the land in the area, and what the people in the area were saying, well, we have had used this land for years to
Mm-hmm.
access the beach, to traverse, and then they wanted to erect walls and fences and stop the people from going there. The the Attorney General, who is the parliamentary representative for St. Joseph, where George River is located, at first he didn't come out in support of his people. He came out after the fact when and then he's saying, well, he asked the Prime Minister for permission to step aside as to deal with it. No, that's nonsense. He's a parliamentary representative. His first and foremost duty is to the people of St. Joseph. And rather than go out there and fight for them, he was trying to find some kid gloves way of avoiding the issue.
Mm-hmm.
God knows why. I don't know why. I'm not going to attribute improper motives to him. Lord knows I attribute enough. So I'm not going to give him any more. But people of George River were saying something, and I've heard one or two of them say to me they will never vote for him again. Well, hopefully that's the case. But he has not supported his people, and they're going to put this tourism project to the exclusion of the
Mm-hmm.
locals who have been using that land, traversing that land. The people have a right to be over that property after all those years. And you just
Yeah,
can't come and shut it off like that.
Yeah. Well, Heather is here to talk with us about this. Good night, Heather. Good to see you.
Good night. I'm
Good
happy
night,
to be
Heather.
here. I hope everyone is doing well.
Yes.
Um, Today or this month, the month of March, marks an exact year. It didn't seem that it was so long ago. At first, I was thinking that it was probably late last year, but March is actually a year that the people have been protesting, and it's most likely from the ending of February or something like that. But it was in March that it reached the newspaper after one of the residents had placed made a video and posted it online. That was
Mm-hmm.
when it started making rounds, and then the newspaper paper picked up the information, and then the protest started. So it's an exact year to date, and it was on one occasion the residents gathered at Joes River Bridge to show exactly what they were protesting about. And it was the construction of two pillars on either side of the bridge, two concrete columns rather,
Mm-hmm.
that they fear would block their access to Joes River Gully and to what they know as teacup and saucer. And a case went to court, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And the case is still pending in court. And even the leader of the Democratic Labour Party at that time, Ronnie Yearwood, he spoke out and he blamed the government because he said that the plans for the development of those columns and whatever else were in that ensued were approved by Town and Country Planning,
Mm.
and the person that was ultimately responsible was the Prime Minister because she heads Town and Country Planning. And after that, um, there was an injunction by the court to stop the developer from building the two concrete columns.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I'm aware, the case is still pending. And they, as Caswell rightly said, the member of parliament for St. Joseph got involved after a long space of time. I don't know what he was waiting for, but he was just dragging his feet. And when he felt the pressure was too much or whatever on him, then he came in and he commented. And but what we did not know was that, oh, before you even go on, the house that was being built on the land is now completed, right?
Mm.
And the house is now complete. But what the residents did not know, that the owner, that it is alleged now that the owner is building a wellness center. And this wellness center would go all the way down to the river and take up part of the river. And they now are faced with something quite significant, is that the only way they will be able to access the river is if they enter the river, if they go through the sea and come back into the river,
Wow.
or
Repeat
to
that.
climb up a
Repeat.
mountain.
Repeat. Repeat. So the new thing that is
The
happening. Just
right,
making sure because Adrian Hines want to know what is the new thing. So the new thing that is happening is that the house that was being built. I was down there and I saw the house that was being built. The house has now been completed, and what it's been now being alleged is that there is a wellness center. So pick
the
it up from
wellness
there.
center.
Yeah.
Right, there is a wellness center that is being built, and that would stretch all the way down to the river.
Mm-hmm.
And the people's dilemma now is that in order to get into Joes River, they have to go into the sea and then
Mm-hmm.
come all the way around to get into Joes River. Or they will have to walk up a steep hill or a mountain a mountain as Bajans will call it, because most of the land in Barbados is flat. And so they would have to go up a steep mountain to come back down on the other side to get into the river. and that does not make any sense. At least probably made sense for the developer, but not for the people. And there was never a social impact study done on the building of the house, construction of the columns by the bridge, or a wellness center in that area. And neither was there an environmental study done. And these are the first things someone should have asked for to construct something of this nature. But what I have also learned, is that this house was given the same rights as if a developer was developing a hotel. So hence, that is why they have assumed responsibility. And what we did not know is that they had this wellness center planned all along. But the people were focused on the bridge. But you can't blame the people. It was being hidden from them. And so the people of St. Joseph need somewhere to turn tonight, or tonight and the months to come, because how can this go on that the people, someone come from wherever it is they came from, take up land, and now they can't access the beach, they can't access the river, and they have been here before the guy who has plans to do this thing. I am not aware that it has started yet. So whatever needs to be done must be done in order to prevent it from happening. And it is sick to see that all of Barbados is disappearing from Barbadians. Soon from now, we would not have a right to go anywhere along the coastline or the areas in Barbados which foreigners have placed their eyes on. And we must have some sort of alien rights to land, to have it preserved at cost, not only at cost and for not only at cost that would not prohibit Barbadians from owning it, but that will not also prevent us from enjoying the social and aesthetical environment that Barbadians have been accustomed to enjoying for generations. This has to stop. It definitely has to stop. And so if I can even continue on that, if we even look at the market values of houses in and around Joes River, the very presence of this new entity would drive up the cost of the land, and the people who presently live there may not be able to afford the taxes that will now become prevalent in the area. Because as we are aware, it only takes like the values of 3 houses. Let's say I was in a neighborhood and my taxes were relatively low. Somebody came and built a big bungalow next to me, and then another person came and another person came. That significantly changes the taxation of the land, because they now would want me to be on par with these people. Even if I have to have a smaller structure, my land taxes would go up, because they're assuming that the value of my land, since these properties have been so enhanced, that the value of my land will be enhanced as well. So I'm saying that this may be possibly not right now, but in the future is going to put the residents who live nearby in St. Joseph at a significant disadvantage. And where will these people go? They can't go into the sea to live. They can't build houses in the sea. So we need to do something about this. So the people in St. Joseph have let's say a pivotal role to play in Barbados right now, so that they can retain their access to the environs that they are familiar with, and also perhaps take us into uncharted land where we can have and I guess the alien land holding rights updated for Barbadians, so that we will not be forced out of Barbados.
Yeah.
And
Oh, wow.
also, the Town and Country Planning Act, I'm sure that you're quite aware that that was revised recently.
Yes.
So the act of itself is a disadvantage to Barbadians. I was trying to get it read today, but I was not able to. But it it seems to me that it favors development more so than local people owning property, which makes no sense to me. And so I did mention that they, one moment. So in my opinion, right, the presence of the establishment and the proposed establishment will infringe on the rights of Barbadians. The unalienable rights that we have now will be infringed on. And as I said before, something needs to be done about that. And even also, even if we look wider into St. Joseph, the Bathsheba is now being significantly developed. And that also is a cause for concerns because the persons who, like expatriates and for other foreigners, they have already taken a hold of the West Coast and the South Coast. And basically, it's only the East Coast of them, the
Yeah.
East Coast, that is now left for them to penetrate. And members of parliament already have, one of them have 3 houses, another one have 1, and another one have 1. So they have established themselves down there already. And the ordinary people who live in Bathsheba will be forced out too. So something must be done about that. If not, about 5-10 years from now, all the local people who live in Bathsheba will have to relocate because they will be unable to afford to pay the taxes on the land that they own. Another foreigner will come and take up all of it. So something needs to be done.
Yeah. You know,
This could not.
yes, on this show, I remember we have been talking about, alerting Barbadians about the East Coast, that they're seeking to do this with the East Coast. And we have been saying that from the time the show started. And this is one of the examples there at Joe's River, such a beautiful space. I love to go hiking there. And, so based on what you're saying, if these allegations are true, it means that we would not have the regular access that we have to Joe's River in the way that we access it. It would be quite difficult if I'm trying to imagine what you're saying to get to it.
Yes.
So it's that the
Yeah.
access, while they're pretending to give access based on these allegations, it will be difficult for the local Barbadian to access that beautiful river that is so serene. It's we want good mental health as well, Heather. We want to be able, as Barbadians, we want to be able to go there, Mr. Franklin, and get the fresh air and
Exactly.
feel the beautiful water, not just for this wellness center that is being set up there for commercial purposes. At this moment, I could just drive down there and then take off my shoes and walk in the river. Will I still be able to do that? That's the issue,
No,
Heather.
no, you would have to go in the sea to come back around to get into Joe's River, or climb up that mountain to come down on the other side to get to Joe's River.
So the
It's
access is
not
being difficult.
exactly.
Yeah. Mr. Franklin, any thoughts on this, or Mr. Murray?
Yes, thank you. 2 things I'd like to observe. First of all, I remember very well in the 80s when I was personal assistant to late Tom Adams, and he was in charge of town planning. There was a national park, the national plan that designated from North Point, Pico Terrace to the end to St. Philip, as that encompassed that whole zone, was part of a national park. And that is why for many years, um, no development was allowed in there. Lots of people came for ideas with hotels and beach houses and cabans, and it was all turned around, but that was being preserved in as pristine a shape as possible. And it's ironic now and tragic that under another BIP government, the same things, opposite seems to be happening where bit by bit is being encroached upon and being tragically turned against Barbadians and out of their hands. The other thing is that I think it's really fascinating how much I've heard about this developer. I've heard he was Australian. I've heard he's had a spokesman speak for him. He's had a lawyer speak for him, but nobody seems to know his name. I think it's amazing. I think it's absolutely fascinating that this whole process will go through and nobody has called his name. No picture of him, no bio on him, nothing. And I know there are people in government high in government with Australian connections, long, deep Australian connections. So that has fascinated me that nobody has been able to unearth. If this man must be signing documents somewhere. Somebody must see him coming and going, how is that this mystery man is taking over George River? I think that is something. If you find out that, then a lot of questions might be answered. A lot of things might then make sense to you coming from Australia too.
Because somebody was asking
Okay.
about the name Heather and of the so Heather, you have a comment about that before Mr. Franklin says.
I'll try to verify it first.
Okay. All right. No problem. No problem. But this is fantastic, Heather, because a lot of times, Mr. Franklin, we know what is happening. We heard what's happening. They said that there was an injunction and so on. So we thought that it had stopped, but they're finding another way to continue what they're
Yes.
doing. And while we were there hiking, the people were telling us things. And you are so right. There are some leaders in this country, at the highest you could think of, that they've started to put homes down there, and they've started to build down there as well. So there is something that is going on that somehow we are not aware of. But Mr. Franklin, go ahead, please. You're muted.
We can't hear you.
Thanks. Barbados is no longer for Barbadians. You know, and it is being actively encouraged by the government. They want to come. First of all, they want to get rid of the Barbados Defense Force. If you ever been underground by the Barbados Defense Force, because there are lots of tunnels and things under there that you should not let in the hands of anybody else, because that could have national security implications. All right. As a little boy, we went down there. You could get lost under there, lost for a week too, and they're going to expose it because that's how the soldiers would have come in to the during the British soldiers to invade Barbados, had to use those structures under there. Right? They want to get rid of that. They want to come all the way down and to get rid of government headquarters. They have already, rather than fix the geriatric hospital, they want to make that a convention center for people to hold conventions from overseas. So and they want to blame it on, it's too close to the sea. So if there's a tsunami or something, so the old people get that crap. They did the same thing with Oysters District Hospital too, but the government is always finding a way to exclude Barbadians. George River people, at least they stood up for a little bit, but they didn't get the backing or sufficient backing from their parliamentary representative. Those people should be protesting and trying to get you out of office now because he is not working in their best interest. But I don't know if he's ever worked in anybody's best interest other than his own. But we have to, march with McGoggle to help the people to march because
Yeah.
it is serious as that. We cannot allow Barbadians to be disadvantaged in Barbados. We can't go anywhere else. And let me just say this: I hear people talk, alien and land holdings not going to work. We actually had a bill, an alien and land holding bill that was passed in Barbados, but it was never proclaimed. Back in Barrow's time, for whatever reason I don't know. And it is not unheard of. Barbados is really small. Right now in Indonesia, Bali to be exact, I'm speaking about Bali, Bali is part of Indonesia. You cannot, for a non-national cannot own land there. You can lease it for 25 years, and then you might be able to get another lease, but you can't own it. And people, and because it is so lucrative, people recoup their investment in 10, 15 years, and then make a lot of money off the rest. And it is, they build hotels, they build guest houses, mostly guest houses, and put them on Airbnb and stuff. And I know of a person right now, very close to me, who is there looking to acquire land to build a guest house,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we can have airline. We got 166 square miles. Some we live in a big town in some countries, and we want to let everybody else get their hands on Barbados. The piece of the rock that I want to give you is 3,000 square feet with a little coop. Business called a cub on it, and they think, oh, you got a piece of the rock that's good enough for you, and they force you in these little, like Orange Hill and wherever else they got these going across St. James, these little pretty houses, and that you can't. If you still live at, you still rent some space, and when you get there, no, the bed can't hold in your house and that kind of thing. That's what they want to give us. They want to reduce us to live in like modified slums, and bring people from overseas that we don't even know who they are, and let them occupy places that we couldn't have occupied before, because a lot of these places were not allowed. You weren't allowed, as Glenn said, you weren't allowed to build on them. So
Yeah,
we
you
we
know,
need to have a government that cares about Barbados and not care about everybody else. And when you find it so, right, when the government is looking out for people outside rather than people here, they are not living on their salaries. Those people outside are probably more generous than you would care to imagine. You could just get in 7,005. You're gonna have a lot more.
yeah, yeah, for them to be able to do those kinds of things. I mean, here you have a developer, and we can nobody even know it's a mystery man or mystery woman, mystery organization, mystery developer. I see Kimar is here, and Kimar is one of those that did a extensive presentation on the East Coast. He was the first person that I heard of talking about the East Coast, and that this, what they're planning to do with the East Coast is similar to what has happened to other parts of Barbados in terms of the West Coast, and selling out every place. And I would hate to see Joe's River, that her access becomes limited. They will not try to deny it, but will give you limited access. And I agree with Mr. Franklin that this show and the people of Barbados should join with the people of in Joe's River, in St. Joseph. If the MP won't do it, we got to stand up like the people in St. James that stood up and got digital to take that cancerous poll from their community. So we have to be able to stand up as a people. And I thank Heather for bringing this up to our attention again tonight. Kimar, good night. Any thoughts on this, Kimar?
Hi, good night, Marcia. Good night,
Yes.
Charles. Hi, good
Hi,
night,
Kimar.
Charles. Yes. Hi, Heather. Good to see you. And good night, Mr. Murray. And good night to all of the members in the loyal opposition. Very happy to be here this Wednesday. Yes, I have some thoughts on this Jules River phenomenon because as you rightfully said, Marcia, we spoke to this plan to free up Barbados for sale, and we provided the pictures, we showed persons the plan.
I think you should
And
redo that session, Kimar. We need to arrange her to do it again with all the pictures and so on. But go ahead, please.
yes, so there's an entire redevelopment plan for Bridgetown. Not Bridgetown, not just Bridgetown, but Barbados. And we also spoke about the fact through the amendments to the Barbados Water Authority Act when they say that 3,737 acres of land has now been freed up with the changing of the Zone 1 to Zone A. and the changing of the zones. So the changing of the zones now allows lands that will had water prone tendencies to now to go for sale. So all of the coastal areas, all of those areas, the Joes River, cattle wash going on down there, surrounding Bridgetown, all of those areas are now for sale just because they changed over the land zones. So as we said previously, that was a land grab. Those amendments and the changing in those zones was a land grab, and they are seeking to sell out those 3,737 acres for foreign exchange because they got to pay the IMF. And that is why you keep hearing them speaking about investors, increasing the population, because eventually um, we are going to have citizenship by investment where wealthy foreigners could buy passports and migrate into Barbados. We're seeing a lot of Nigerians and other African countries coming into Barbados. We're seeing a lot of Haitians, Jamaicans, more and more people coming into Barbados, and the law has been changed to allow them to bring the children as well,
Yes.
right? So that right there is called the importation of labor to be able to serve the future agenda. And when you bring in all of the rich people to buy all of these important water prone areas, they are trying to put more and more people here to be able to serve them. Much of like what happened during the 90s when uh, land was going out to build multi-million-dollar houses on golf courses and all of those type of new seaside developments in these large hotels. So a lot of CARICOM people came into the country, Ghanese especially,
Mhm.
and were able to take up work through the country. So the more wealthy people came, then the uh, administration, I think, opened up the country to CARICOM regionalism. People came flocking in.
Mhm.
Um, so that is what they're trying again. But it is unfortunate that we continue to sell out our prime real estate and the prime national assets of the country for measly change. I think we need to have more pride in that, and I think Barbadians should be the ones who are investing in these opportunities because we have the people, we have money in the banks, money in the credit unions. But you're not given the opportunities. I'm sure that nobody knew when this land went up for sale.
Yeah, that's the thing. And somebody is saying that, what about, I sent it to both you and Caswell. They said also right beside Brandon's area, a huge building is being built there. I was told it has something to do with the Chinese, this person is alleging. Not sure how true this is, but for sure the building is going up. When it is finished, will we still be able to use the area of the beach? And somebody else is to ask me about Six Men St. Peter. So I think this is something that Barbadians need to be very, very alert about. And Kimar, you've always said it on here that we're being forced inland. It's like the sea and the water, any of those areas is just too good for us. So we are being, as Caswell is saying, just pushed in, and we live inland, and the tight little spaces, while they are inviting everybody to come in, and changing the laws. I was told by credible sources that at the BAC, the Barbados Accreditation Council, Mr. Franklin, and we're doing some investigation on that. That where it would take 8 months for someone, a non-national who's coming in, for them to verify their credentials, that they would have presented to say, okay, well, I have a degree in whatever area, that they have now brought it down to 7 days. The leader of this country, the prime minister, has brought that down to 7 days, and it's feeding into what Kimar is saying, where they're making that that they're changing laws, they're changing policies, not for us, not to benefit us. And I laughed when the person told me, a very credible source. I said, people who are coming from, for example, the country I was born in, I know they will make a PhD, they will make a degree. I'm telling you, and you need time. You're gonna have people coming in here with all kinds of papers saying that they are, but because they want them to come in quickly, Mr. Franklin, they would have changed the policies that have been set there for years, Kimar. 8 months to verify all of the paperwork of that worker that's coming in. They are so eager in them coming in to take the jobs and to take up residency. And it's true. When they come in, their children are allowed to go to school for free. And there's some of these people who are even dodging paying income taxes. We have much more to say on that coming up. But I had to go off on that because that is simply crazy.
If this government stays in office until the end of its term, we will not recognize Barbados.
So
And we
true.
will not recognize who are Barbadians. Because you remember, the Prime Minister talked about importing people. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
I like getting people the natural way. I'm still not that able, but I still would reminisce. But I know the young people can do that all by themselves. We don't need to go and import people into Barbados. Her analogies are so simplistic. Remember when she talked about in the 1950s, Barbados has so many people, and Belize had no. Belize got 400,000, but Belize got 8,866 square miles. And we only got 166. So she doesn't understand what she's talking about. Where are we going to put them? Right now we can't find places, and we got to crowd out people in Bathsheba and George River and every place else. We can crowd them up from Brandon already, and we don't have those people. Where she's going to put them? You went on the road this morning. I nearly give up trying to get to work this morning. Traffic all over the place. I had to go all kind of shortcut, go through different people districts and all kind of stuff to get on the road. The traffic
Yeah.
is horrendous. You cannot, of course, no Kimara, the Jobby Water. You can get them Jobby Water too. It's a whole set of madness. These people
Yeah.
are too
It's
simplistic in their
madness.
thinking,
You're correct.
and their simplistic thinking is going to destroy Barbados. We are not going to see a Barbados, mind you. I wouldn't want my children to live here under the conditions that the Barbados Labour Party is creating for us.
Yeah.
Marcia,
Yes,
two
yes, Heather, and
things.
then we are gonna go
Um,
because Kimar has some things he wants to
yes.
talk about tonight. Yes, go ahead,
Um,
Heather.
when you mentioned the verification of credentials, I remember when I was going to KFL, a guy came, I think he may have been from England or Australia or somewhere, and he taught for an entire semester. And at the beginning of the new year, it was realized that his documents were forged. So to reduce, if that could happen at Cave Hill, what do you think would happen if verification of credentials are brought down to 7 days? So many people that are not qualified will slip into the island. And the second thing is that someone told me that late last year, 3 nationals from Ireland were in Barbados scouting for houses. And they were somewhere in St. John, I don't remember the location. And they said that they were seeking to relocate because their government, the government of Ireland, is giving its citizens $300,000 to purchase houses in Barbados. I have not gotten around to investigate it, but that is what I was told.
Uh, that is quite interesting. That's something, Heather. Oh
Yep.
man, we need to get into that and look
I
into
will look
that.
into it. Yes.
Yes, please do that, Heather. Please do that, because that's important. I mean, and when we this I don't even know what to say, but that we are just destroying the fabric of our country, destroying what makes us Barbados. And those, for example, with the checking people's certificates and so on. It's important. You just can't have people coming in and not doing the work that needs to be done to check. I mean, we had a teacher teaching up there at foundation, and it's alleged that he did not have the proper certificates to do it. So we are the people in here that are going to suffer as a result. So for an administration to come in and to lower those standards and to do it so drastically, it's laughable. It's ridiculous. Totally
Marcia,
ridiculous.
Marcia, it's
Yes. And
all
then
over the
Kimar,
place.
right up to Kimar, yeah.
It's all over the place. I had a case at the labor department one day, and the guy opposing me. They were calling him doctor this, doctor that, doctor. I said, I check he out. He ain't even a damn nurse, and but everybody called him doctor this. He wasn't even a nurse. So you have to do the checking. And
Yes.
7 days isn't enough because it takes me more than 7 days to find out that information.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
really
Yes.
anyhow, Marcia, check your phone.
Yes. I'm gonna check my phone now. Yes, thank you. Kimar, go ahead, please. What's on your mind today? What's on your mind this evening?
Yes. I I was asked a question recently, and I too was observing um, the gas pump when you go into Sol or when you go into Rubis and see how much you have to pay for gas. And I was monitoring the fact that every time you go to the gas station, if you go to the gas station 3 times a day, you're paying tax 3 times a day,
Mm-hmm.
right? 40 cents per liter. And I started to wonder about this gas tax. And somebody asked recently if I believe that Sol and Rubis benefit financially from the gas tax. So I did some analysis on the gas tax, and in 2018, it was a manifesto pledge from the Barbados Labour Party that they were going to remove road tax and put a tax at the pump for Barbadians to pay to be able to, for a more efficient way to collect road tax. Now, road tax was X amount of dollars, I can't remember the exact amount, and it was payable yearly and it was collected by BRA, right, the Barbados Revenue Authority. However, the government, when it changed, removed the road tax and put on the fuel tax and passed a bill in Parliament, or is act now, which is called the Fuel Tax Act 2018, and this act put the implication or the imposition of the fuel tax on the population. Now, if I ask you, Marcia, if I ask you, Heather, Caswell, or even Mr. Murray, what was your interpretation of the fuel tax? By listening to the government, and if you follow what the government had in the manifesto, I could assure that all of you thought that when you go into the gas station, solar Rubis, that you were paying a fuel tax at the pump,
Mm-hmm.
right? You assume that, Marcia, when you go into the
Yeah.
solar business, right?
But
Well,
that's what they said.
thought,
That's what these prime
yes,
minister said.
that is what they said, but that is not true. That is not true whatsoever. That was a big deception that they put on Barbados and the entire world. They duped an entire population into believing that we were paying a tax at the pump. We were never paying any tax at the pump. There's no legislation. There's no statute. There's no bill. There's nothing that speaks to a fuel tax at the pump. Right? The Fuel Tax Act 2018 says that the fuel tax is imposed on the importers
Mm-hmm.
of petroleum products in Barbados. And who's liable to pay? Every importer who imports petroleum products are the only ones who are liable to pay the fuel tax. And in the act, it says nothing about the taxpayer. It says nothing about any tax at any pump whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's when you go further than that, you should ask who imports oil, petroleum products, kerosene, diesel, gas. The Barbados National Oil Company. Right? So that is government.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if the government is the one who imports all of the oil and then Sol and Rubis will have distribution and retail license, if the government imports the oil at the NOC, why would the government pass legislation or the Fuel Tax Act put a 40 cents tax on every liter coming in to the country, but tell the people of Barbados that the fuel tax was for them to pay at the pump when there is no mention about any tax at any pump, or it says nothing about the taxpayer, but it speaks specifically to the importers of oil, and that you have to pay this fuel tax at customs to the controller of customs.
Hmm.
Right? So the government should come and explain to us now if they put the tax, if they place the fuel tax on the importers of fuel. Explain to us how you have Sol and Rubis collecting the fuel tax at the pump and having us pay, right? Having us pay, and the money is being managed and handled by Sol and Rubis as opposed to the Barbados Revenue Authority, where the
Interesting.
old road tax system was managed by the BRA, but now the fuel tax is managed and collected and managed by Sol and Rubis. But there's no provision in the act which speaks to Sol and Rubis handing over the money to the government. It says the fuel tax says that the importers of oil have to pay the controller of customs.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
That's what it said, and that is how. And so it does not speak to Sol and Rubis anyway who collects the tax, and it says nothing about who they would have to be paying over the money that they collected to. Right? So it was an entire deception where I thought that I was paying tax at the pump. Very clearly, Marcia, it says absolutely nothing, and Caswell could attest. I spoke to him about it.
Wow. This is I'm here as you're talking. I'm writing some notes and trying to. But Kimar, I don't understand. So you're saying that Sol and Rubis, they are what they're collecting. So what is it really they're collecting if it's not taxes?
Revenue for them.
You understand what I'm saying, Kimar?
Yes, I understand. Well, I thought that they were collecting. When I read the legislation, I was hoping to see, well, the distributor / collector of the fuel tax would then hand over to a revenue officer from the bar, and then the money will be accounted for from there. But there's nothing in the legislation which speaks to the collector / distributor, which will be the people at the pump handing it over to anybody. But it speaks to the importers handing it over to the Controller General at Customs. But
Right.
but we don't import. You and I, Marcia, we don't import petroleum
So,
products.
so is
So
it that I'm wondering? Is it that we are paying that? So the government they're paying that because they're the one importing it, and then is it that we are turning around and paying for that? Do you understand
well,
what I'm asking?
if it is that the Barbados National Oil Company is the sole importer of petroleum products, and the government essentially put a tax on itself, right? Because remember, the NOC's government, if the government tax themselves as the importer, I think you automatically add that into the VAT, the excise tax, and whatever other tariffs and duties that you have to pay, and you automatically increase the price of fuel. So when you do your price markup, it was reported that the price markups on gas between the import price and the retail price were over to 800%.
Hmm.
Right? So a lot of that big markup comes from the fact that one, the government taxing it through the import tax, fuel tax, they're taxing it by VAT, and they're taxing it through excise tax, and
Wow.
one or two other taxes that the government has in place. So that is why the price of gas is so high right now, because of this fuel tax that the government put not on the people, because it says nothing about the people, and it says nothing about the people at the pump. It says that this tax is on the importers of the product.
Hmm.
So where
Somebody,
are we paying?
right? Somebody's saying here the SAC is saying, if you can see the screen, the tax, like all taxes, are passed on to the consumer. The oil companies will charge as they dispense. It is revenue for the government, but not for the oil distributors.
Well,
Marcia, you see, the problem with this is that the government is being deceptive. They lie to us one more time. Well, they lie to us more often than not.
Mm-hmm.
Because only when Kimar spoke to me, and after having read the act, that everything Kimar is telling you is absolutely true, right? The government is taxing itself, and then the government decides what the cost of the fuel is, because the cost of fuel is controlled. You don't see every so often, you see when the price of fuel go up overseas, that they tell you, oh, the price go up, it goes up by 5 cents, and then it comes down by a cent, goes up by 4 cents, it comes down by two, and that kind of stuff, and it keeps going up and up and up and up. So the government is being just greedy and deceptive with it. Because I look, Kimar sent me the app because I said, Kimar said this because I couldn't believe, but I don't, not like doubt Kimar. It is just I don't believe that the government can be so wicked. They're told, I know they're bad, but you know there's certain points that you don't go below. Well, they have just gone there. Any lower now, this government can be tunneling. Look, Marcia, I was in the parliament when this thing came up in the budget, and they said that they're going to pay 40 cents at the pump. 40 cents per liter, 5 cents for kerosene, and 40 cents for diesel. I remember that. And I said, I don't understand how you're going to say that you're putting a road tax, because they said it was supposed to replace the road tax. And I asked them, say you're putting it on kerosene oil, but the only old people and stuff that use kerosene oil to cook with. So I never see a old stove coming down the road. I remember that, making a joke during my speech. I don't see no old stoves coming on the road. So it is not. It is more than that. But I didn't believe. Sometimes you just wonder about this government, and the people of Barbados, just let them get away with it. It is shocking.
You know what would be good, Kimar, is to we delve into this a bit more another night and bring the let the people read the document, because we're all about education on here, and all of these bills. What we've done, if you guys remember, is that we would highlight the areas and bring it and let the people read it for themselves. We're all about education, and let them see for themselves what is happening, because a statement like that, Kima, would be made and we just kind of skip over it. But thankful to you tonight for bringing this to our attention. So it's I'm still like trying to understand, really. I'm trying to give the government the benefit of the doubt with this, because it doesn't something is not adding up here. I don't understand. If it is not so, why would they say probably? I don't know. I'm just, I, you know,
Um,
yes,
Marcia,
Heather. Yes, Heather, go ahead.
does it mean that the government is taxing persons twice, or the second tax is being collected by the retailer? I'm
Mm,
not clear.
neither am I. Neither am I. I'm not sure if either Kimar or Caswell can answer. Heather there.
Well, all I can tell you is that the tax was supposed to be collected at the pump, and the people who own the gas station were supposed to pay in. That
Mm-hmm.
is the original thing of this act. Now, the bill that was passed, um, it doesn't say, it says, let me read it for you. Subject to this act, there shall be charge on petroleum products, a tax to be known as a fuel tax. That's subsection 1. Subsection 2 says the tax referred to in subsection 1 shall be charged at the point of importation of the petroleum products at the rates specified in the schedule. And then it says the minister may by order amend the schedule. And that is what, and also what you must also capture for the next section. It says order made under subsection 3 is subject to negative resolution, meaning that they can go in parliament and raise it and not tell them about anything,
Mm-hmm.
because it wouldn't have to be debated. Negative resolution is where you lay the thing in parliament and it becomes effective immediately. And if a parliamentarian decides, oh, we want to discuss this, you got 40 days of which to do so, and but who we gonna do it? Because
Mm-hmm.
you can't, you're gonna get nobody to propose and second when you had no opposition.
Right. You see. Yeah. Yeah. Kimar, what is the name of the legislation? Kimar.
The Fuel Tax Act
Right.
2018.
You said it at the beginning, the Fuel Tax Act 2018. Those of you who are listening, it is the Fuel Tax Act 2018. And I'm asking everybody, like we did with all the other bills and acts and all of these things that I would never read normally. I found myself reading these things. So get into that. Tomorrow is Thursday, so we can hopefully we'll have the time on Friday to go into it and to bring it to you, because we like to prove the things that we're talking about, right? It's important. The cybercrime bill, we did the same thing. The bill that governed the ID, the Barbados Identity Management Act. You see, I know all these things now. Before I didn't know them. BIMA, all of these things. We took it on the show, and we were able to use the PowerPoint feature and show it to you, underline it so that you saw it for yourself and you knew what was happening. And that's what um we need to do that with this particular fuel tax act of 20 I put it's 28 2019 or 2018. What did I write the wrong
2018.
thing? 2018 to 2018. Yes, 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 Mervin. Yes, Mervin. Go and read it, guys, and use your social media. Use WhatsApp, use Instagram, and the same thing Mervin asked here. Tell us, PM, what is going on. Ask it. This group here is a pressure group. Mr. Murray already told us what we are. And so everybody on you, the almost 1,300 of you on here tonight, everybody use your Facebook, use Instagram, use WhatsApp, create you know, post and ask questions. Nothing is wrong with asking questions. That's very important. Kimar, we're so thankful for you bringing this to our attention. Anything else you want to say on this, Kimar, before we go on?
Yeah, yeah. Well, just to summarize, all of what I said, 'cause I know I would have said a lot in that short space of time, and people are still may still be a little bit confused because having been told all along that you were paying a tax at the pump, then to be told one day that it was never a tax at the pump, and there's no legislation to support any tax at the pump, and that it was really an illegal collection
Mm-hmm.
that was not provided by the law. It could be shocking, right? But the proof is going to be put on the screen for everybody to see because the legislation is there for you to go and look at it and see clearly that the fuel tax is indeed a tax on the importer and it is paid at the point of importation. None of us Barbadians import fuel. We just go to the tank and fill up, right?
Yeah.
So somebody needs to explain that because the entire population was deceived
Mm-hmm.
into
Mm-hmm.
thinking that they were paying a tax at the pump when the government knew full well that it never existed. It was a lie,
Yeah.
right? So we need some answers on that.
Yeah, yeah. Someone here is saying thank you, Kimar, so much. We are just so glad for the research that you yourself, Caswell, Heather, Mr. Murray, everybody that you share on this program. It is just invaluable. Someone is saying here, I want to find it because I just want to clarify to this person that we do not speak on behalf of DLP. They're asking, so what is DLP? So we ain't suing DLP and doing anything about this. This is not the DLP, Jermaine. Welcome, Jermaine 123A. Just wanted to clarify that to you that we don't speak on behalf of the DLP. Okay, we are made up of people from different persuasions, really. So if that's new to you, I just wanted to clarify that. But this is a big this is a big deception. This is a big fraud here. I agree with you, Calvin. That's it's definitely deceitful and fraudulent. Okay, yeah. Miss, I didn't ask Miss Amori. Is there anything you want to say to this? We just have about a minute. Any comment you want to make on this issue, Miss Amori? Is he still there?
I think a lot has been said about it. I've learned some more things about it, but every time I feel that we've been tricked once, and that's it, I get tricked again. It's unbelievable. I'm so glad I got hold of them in 2013 that I can no longer believe that this is the party. Believe me, it was a different culture. The only remnants and drips of it, but this whole attitude and approach to life and governance and people is a totally different culture, not the one of accustomed to associate Robert Street all these years. But we'll have to do something about it.
Yes, yes, yes. Mr. Mr. Thank you so much, Kimar. And Miss McLean is here. And Miss McLean, I'm sure you would have heard some of that discussion. I know, knowing you, you're going to be delving into this act. But any thoughts of it before you begin your session?
Well, it actually is connected to some of what I'm going to be saying, but I am a little kerfuffle. Let me use that expression because I was concentrating on something else and I missed a part of what Kimar was saying. But if I understand what he was saying that in looking at the legislation which should have put in place the fuel tax at the pump, the legislation does not speak to that, but instead says something else. Now it raises two questions to me. Are there two taxes that we are bearing? Because if
Mm,
government is collecting something or the other, it is going to be passed on to the consumer. And then it probably impacts the price, because if it is done at source or on entry, it then
Yeah.
impacts the price to the retailer. And we are
Yes.
paying, well, there was a fixed amount that per liter and so on, but if it doesn't, so it really needs an explanation, and I will go and look at it and talk to Kimar and others about it. But it sounds as though we are being hit, and it is done in a way that is not consistent with what we are told. What we were told back in July 2018, Caswell, as he mentioned, would have been in Senate at the time. And again, it is something that needs to be delved into. But my instincts tell me, and the evidence tells me, that when Kimar raises something, he has researched it well, and there is a story to tell about it. Perhaps I should ask. I remember the Minister of Youth and Sports was saying he had a story to tell, but his portfolio is youth and sport. But there's something behind this, and as usual, Marcy, if something is raised, and because you have multiple things, we will look into. I certainly gonna talk to Kimar, and I asked about the legislation. I sent him a note. I sent you one to get the exact title, and so it needs investigating. But I will link it in what I have to say, and I'm gonna kind of short circuit some of what I had to say, because usually what I'm reporting on is the discussion, the debate that took place in the Senate today.
You
As
mean
an
bad
appeal.
behavior?
Well, I have come to expect it, and I must tell you, it was a little better, at least some of it. I must confess that once Senator Walters finished and Senator Morris came on, I went to brass tacks, because I really, after listening to a bit, I really don't need to do that. But I just want to highlight some things, Marcia, because in looking, there were several senators whose contributions I followed. It was Senator Walters, who started the day's proceedings. I listened also to Senator Monroe Knight, and I listened to Senator Thompson, who had comments to make about this show. But let me speak to what I'm going to do.
She too.
Basically, she
I
mentioned
think you
somebody
are.
who was walking up in front of a vehicle. I don't know if that was Caswell. It wasn't me.
That,
I
that
think
what? What
I
was
think
that?
Huh?
What was that?
There was a reference to I'm gonna find the themes that she used, but she was a reference to the show. She didn't call the name, and I would not only say the show, but the movement that has evolved organically, I must say, and not
Yeah.
engineered by you or Casual or anybody else, but people who have been in the show. And then she referred to a certain individual who was seen walking up, who was walking up in front of something. So I don't know who that was, because I can't remember seeing any people participating in any or I mean, but maybe that's the expression. Y'all be talking about dancing. So
She's just jealous. She can't walk up.
let me get on to some serious business. That lest we get upset. But I mentioned the connection between this fuel tax and what I would consider to be the theme or the focus of Senator Walters' contribution. And he was talking about the cost of living. And in fact, there are a couple of things that he reminded me. One was that back in 2018, the government had made a promise to relook the VAT rate. And so he was flagging that. The other thing that he mentioned, that as we look at the components of the cost of living, there are some things that, recognizing, of course, and nobody can disagree with that that some of our cost of living is imported. But I'm trying to find an article that I had here. I don't want to lose it, because I'm going to refer to it in this. But anyhow, I'll find it when I get to it. Okay, I have it. So his point was, even though prices are rising, there are elements of cost that are perhaps within the control of government to do something about those costs. And he mentioned the promise to relook that, which has not been relooked. He mentioned the fact that on our electricity bill, there was a decision to reduce the VAT charged on electricity. It was down to, I think, 7.5%. And that arrangement expires at the end of this month. So on the 31st, that is gonna go back up. And he also talked about the general tax burden, and in fact listed a number of taxes, because there was a suggestion that the taxes that this government has not increased taxes or added new taxes in the last 2 years or something. But he essentially highlighted the health levy, and I linked that to the conversation you had with Mr. Earl about the financing of the capital works of the hospital to the tune of $130 million, and what was rumored about the credit unions being asked to participate in that. And I actually, Marcia, wrote a comment, which I think I shared with you and several people, about that whole thing. And that was in response to what I saw Peter Earl write. So in other words, he said that the fuel tax, the garbage and sewage tax, and he mentioned the health levy, those three things raising about $900 million. And I would assume that's in the last year. So he was saying that there is, in fact, a heavy tax burden. Um, and he also mentioned the 2.5% product development levy on direct tourism services. And the that 2.5%, his argument was that Barbadians too utilize tourism services, and therefore partly pay that. But that leads me to flag something, and I will come back to this, Marcia, and that is, how is the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. financed? Because if you look at the estimates, you would not see a provision in there, because it is financed probably through this and whatever means. My question, however, is what reporting can we get, or have we gotten, on funds allocated to the Barbados Tourism Management Inc., so that we can have a sense of how those things are 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 spent, those funds are collected, the level of funds collected, and the allocation and use of those funds. And the other thing that he mentioned was that in 2020, the IMF had actually called on the government in its Article 4 consultation to remove the 2% foreign exchange fee, given, probably the imposition of other things. And he mentioned that in 2023, that 2.5%, that 2% foreign exchange fee generated $94 million. Now, of course, I'm going to skip some of the other persons because of the time constraints. And I want to go to some of what Senator Thompson talked about. And a lot of her conversation was to seek to um, dismiss or ignore what would have done in the administration prior to her. But I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. But I want to flag something that she mentioned, because we would have dealt with it here before. And I just want to reiterate that when people seek to give information, they need to be honest. And that has to do with the Hope project and the housing. And what Senator Thompson said was that this was the first time that people were going to be given land. They're getting the land for free, and so on. And so that I can take our minds back to something I shared before. This is what an article that I read before, and I'm going to take the pains to read it again. It is an article called Hope Inc., a Barbados Success Story General Company Overview. And this was written in, um, in November the 2nd, 2022, in a publication called The Business View Caribbean. And I'll read the paragraphs here. Um, it says, Home Ownership Providing Energy Inc., Hope Inc., is a project by the government of Barbados providing affordable hurricane resilient homes at below market rates. The project targets employed individuals in Barbados earning no more than Barbados $4,000 net per month who do not currently own a home. It goes on to say once an applicant is approved, the government provides them with the land for free, and they only need to pay for the construction of the pre-designed house, resulting in a 25% reduction in the overall cost of the home. And I smile. I continue. The Prime Minister and her economic team initially created this plan to reduce the cost of housing for teachers, police, and nurses earning less than Barbados 4,000, says Tony Hoyers, who chairs, and I would say now chaired, who chairs the whole Inc. board. And this is what Mr. Hoyers had to say. We quickly realized that this would be an extremely popular program because we were giving free land, and the program allows anyone in that bracket to qualify for a house without making a down payment. It goes on to explain that the program, due to its popularity, the government extended the program first to all public servants and then to those in Barbados who met the qualifications. Now, in explaining how it works, this is what he had to say. The killer application of the project is the free land provided to applicants, which Hoyer says is not as crazy as it sounds. Quote, Hope Inc. gives away the land in exchange for 20 years of using your rooftop to generate solar energy. He goes on to say, and I quote, we sat down and did the calculations and realized that the revenues from energy generated from these rooftops over 20 years would more than cover the cost of the land we are giving away. My question, therefore, are you giving away land, or are you deferring payment of that land through periodic revenue generated by the use of solar panels on your house? The answer to that is that you are paying for it, but you're not paying for it upfront. You're paying for it through the provision of your roof for mounting panels and for the company that is managing this project or executing this project to earn revenue. And as he says, the revenue earned over the 20 months will far exceed the cost of the land. So, so to tell the public that you're getting it for free and that you're going to reduce the cost of the housing and also is not really true. So I think, as I was saying, I note that we are 13 minutes away from 10, that I wanted to flag that and some other things, but it really concerned me that as we look at this, we almost cannot take on face value what we are hearing in relation to some of these things. So I would pause there, and if there's any reaction to that, and if necessary, or if I'm conscious of time, let me put it that way. So let me pause.
Yes, thank you, Ms. McLean, for bringing that out of the Senate debate today. I just want to comment before anybody else jumps in to say that I commend Ryan Walters. That's it. I keep mixing up the last name, but I think I'm correct with the last name, Walters.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, he was like a bull today. He was at there at the starting line, and he was fixed on his goal, where the end line, the finishing line, and he was focused. They threw rocks at him. They took off their shoes, not literally. They could turn over the table. They could do whatever. That man did not lose focus. And I just want to commend him on that. A very, very strong character to be able to stand up and to deliver under those circumstances. And I thought that was very commendable. Let me just open the floor up. Caswell, is there anything that you would like to say about the Senate debate today, or anything that Ms. McLean has brought to our attention?
I didn't see anything about the Senate debate today. I was hearing this from Maxine, and some people sending me WhatsApps about their behavior. I didn't have any first-hand knowledge of it. That's why I asked about the bad behavior going on today, because you said that Ryan Walters was focused. He doesn't have. He shouldn't have to be focused on to keep out that noise. It is planned bad behavior. The government is just being nasty, and they're not setting an example. They feel that everything is just gutter politics. I sent you I think that a little while ago. Maxine, you got it too. When they were talking about Liz Thompson was talking about the politics of nastiness and all kind of stuff, and they were nasty. You remember that? So they don't know how to behave. They have one way to behave, and that's bad. And but mind you, they're being led by somebody who behaves badly. Look at the prime minister. And the budget. You know, when I saw her, I saw only saw the end part. You know, and she was by that time she looked like she was going to tear a dress off or tear somebody else off. I don't know, but I don't want to say that because people might say that I said uncharitable things when I said about tearing off dress. I don't mean that in the sense that you might want to take it as. I mean, you know what I mean.
One second. Somebody said that they need to not have an oval one. It's for family, and they're not behaving like family. The table should be rectangular. But any thoughts, Mr. Murray, about the Senate today? Any ideas came out of it that you would like to discuss? We only have 10 minutes.
Well, I was thank you. I was very selective about whom I watched, particularly today. I thought Senator Walters was outstanding. I was longing to see how he would operate in such a forum. He knew his stuff. He knew his material backwards. He had details, and I was very impressed with him. I think he makes a very good complementary partner and a very good deliverer too with Senator Watson, who we have a family connection. I had to put in that list here, so I'm actually proud of her, right? But no, he was first class, and I think that he's a tremendous addition to the Senate. I do not listen to, I cannot listen to Senator. I told you last time, I no longer listen to one word if possible of Senator Thompson. Totally discredited. John King disproved himself. I thought it was a sad bunch trying to fight battles that have been lost already in an old-fashioned way because they are no longer. Barbadian public does not enjoy that kind of thing anymore. I saw you doing a campaign summit, but on TV, as they say, from the Senate floor, very very unbecoming, and they only do and digging their own graves deeper and deeper. So good luck to them.
Yes, yes.
I don't
Heather,
mind if there's shallow grave. Don't you grade
go ahead.
me.
Heather, any comments on the Senate debate today?
Yes, I was quite disappointed with the Speaker of the House.
The
Speaker of the Senate,
the president,
the President of the Senate, yes. He should have done a better job. It is his duty to control the people who are in the Senate. If Mr. Walters was a weaker person, he would have been walked over. But so I am glad that he stood his ground and made his points, and he got up and objected whenever they were trying to say that he said what he did not say. But overall, I am disappointed in the President of the Senate.
Yeah. You know, I see a comment here, and I normally would not put this up, but I'm going to put it up with a little thing. I just to say I don't call people ugly because they're people's physical features.
No,
I
said
never,
mature
I don't believe in
personality.
judging, but I want to say that I personally, it's my opinion that Liz Thompson's personality is very ugly, very, very. It's a thing where because of that, I don't even look at her, honestly. If I'm wrong, may the Lord forgive me, but I can't look at her because when I see her, I don't see the beauty that obviously is on the outside. I see the ugly and nastiness that comes out of her. And and these are those two that they have there. I don't know what purpose they're serving for the government, but to be attack dogs. And I'm not calling them dog. I'm using it as a metaphor because you are going to be messaging me that I'm a Christian and I'm calling people dogs. I'm not saying that they're dogs. The behavior and they're being used like that, or it's a simile, being used like attack dogs. I don't understand what other purpose that they serve really. But enough of that. Kimar, any thoughts on the Senate today, or on what Miss McLean had says? Is there?
Well, I listened to some of the debate. Um, while Walters was good. Um, I saw the hearing from his Thompson. I told people, and I'm going to say every time I get a chance, this Thompson needs to be retired from politics. Not given a job as a Sherpa, not given a job as an ambassador to the United Nations. Retirement, right? We like to speak about Ogard. How long has Liz Thompson been in politics? And she consistently adds nothing to the political landscape, but still she's the deputy president of the Senate.
No, she has filth.
Right?
That is something.
Pollution, right? So instead of giving a young person who's now in the Senate a chance to articulate himself and to be supported by his supporters, by his party, by his community, she is back in the Senate, wasting the taxpayers' money paying her and stifling the development and the growth of the people of this country. So I say all fossils goodbye.
Yeah.
Otherwise than that, I just ain't a say with that. Whoever told her to wear that hairstyle that she had today, that was not working.
That was a big. Cut my hair.
I won't, I won't comment. All I have to say is that I want to hear her
She's
apologize
not. Well,
to Berla de Pisa. Okay, apologize to Berla de Pisa and other women, black women in this country. And when you do that, I probably will try to listen to you. But unless you do that, I have nothing to do with that kind of thinking. It's just not right. I have nothing to do with that, whether her hairstyle, whatever. But sometimes when you're so negative on the inside, it just comes out on the outside.
It
Even though
shows.
you
That
might
is
be as
true.
beautiful, Heather, you could be as
Yes, it
beautiful
shows.
as ever. It just comes out. I hear my husband laughing in the other room because I'm sorry, he's laughing at the whole thing. Um, let me stop because he's laughing. Yes. You were saying something, Heather.
I was saying that you're absolutely correct. The only thing that your personality can do is to show who you are. You don't have to say a word, it just shows.
Sorry. The comment section is just crazy. But we went off on that, and it's Miss McLean. It's the elephant in the room. It's a thing that everybody, when they think, they know something is wrong there, and to think that the government would still take these two persons up and put them in the Senate for us having to deal with them with such a cantankerous, it overshadows what happens in the Senate. That's just what I think. Even though we should be dealing with the issues, we are here dealing. We're talking about personalities, but it's just like how I'm doing my face. That's how it is for me. I am sorry. But Miss McLean, this was your segment. Is there anything you want to say to round it off?
Yeah, I think what I would say is that the several issues were raised, and it demonstrates two things. One, that taken by itself, the spokespersons for the government are pretty good at articulating. I have not commented. I don't comment on people's physical appearance or whatever. What they do is their business. I don't get into that as a black
oh,
woman.
that's why you never told me I'm quite cute.
Yeah.
I tell you what, these days, when I see it, but I focus on, somebody made a comment about being exemplars or examples to others and so on. And the unfortunate reality is that, well, I started to make the point that if you listen to the positions or the presentations of the various spokespersons, Kimar mentioned Senator Thompson, and she started by indicating that this would have been her 18th, 18th debate of this kind. So obviously she's seasoned, and I'll be frank, I have sat in places where it is unfortunate that Senator Thompson segues into certain kinds of behaviors because she's not a dumb person. And from my observation, the Prime Minister of Barbados relies heavily on her. She is experienced. She's held a number of portfolios. She was not the most successful Minister of Health, but I think generally in relation to environment, I will give her due. She's done a lot outside of Barbados as well, at least from what I've seen. But it is unfortunate. But I was also happy to hear her say that she's a student of theology, which I know because I sit with her in another place. But I hope that will help her to stay focused and stay along a certain lane, because you don't want to fall into the kinds of things that we know she's capable and say the kinds of things. But overall, back to the main point, when I listen to those persons who sought to articulate government's position, and many of them are articulate and are able to speak in a way that may confuse the listener, because at the end of the day, when we start to dissect, and we do it here, and I wish the government officials would listen rather than attack, because that's what we see, that they would listen here and understand that the record of accomplishment of implementation is sadly lacking. The consequence of that or the many missteps that are taken, the consequences is significant cost to the taxpayer. So it sounds good to read off all your vision and whatever else and list out these things and speak in a way that seeks to diminish what might have gone before when it should. But the reality is that when we start to look project by project, especially in critical areas, we see significant errors, which are costly on many fronts.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. McLean. I know, Mr. Franklin, you have something there, but that is going to take probably a big chunk of time, right, to go through.
No, it's not. It's not going to take a lot of time, because it is a report that was dated the 20th of March 2024, and I was only passing in a certain place today when it blew off the truck, so I didn't get a chance to do a lot of reading on it. But people have to secure these trucks much better, and it is the next report from the Lester Vaughan School. A lot of fancy jargon that I do not understand. I understand the conclusions, and the conclusions were the same conclusions that came to in 2019. Put grease around the wells and that kind of nonsense. But only difference is that they're telling you now that you got to do it every week. Now, if you fix a problem where there is some environmental issue, and every week you got to go, it says here, therefore, it is important to conduct daily and/or weekly checks of the integrity of the seals around the covers of the wells, septic tanks, and manhole walls and covers for fractures and ability to fix and reseal these structures. Heavy grease is recommended as a secure sealant and not silicone sealants, which may be waterproof but not sewer gas leak proof. This report in 2018, the report that they gave out said something similar, to put grease around the tanks, and it all failed. It failed almost immediately after, and they come back using the same person, same company, to give the same reports again, and expect it. They said it is madness when you do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. They are now trying to get those people to come back into school. Mind you, they only check certain areas. They didn't check all. They didn't check the toilets where the smoke was coming from the base of the toilets. They didn't check out there on the fields where the sewage pipes were passing, where the gas was coming up through the thing. They only went on the wells and checked the wells and say, oh, it is safe. And they're asking the people now to come work from Tuesday. I believe it was because they had the St. Thomas Peaks at Leicester Vaughan and they wanted to get the school ready for that. And so they want to say, because on Monday, which is after the 20th, they denied having a copy of this report. And now today they have it and they want to give it to the unions. And mind you, they didn't call me. They give it to BUT and give them 1 day to analyze a report that is full of jargon for people who teach fit chemistry and physics and maths. It might be all chemistry and physics, biology. It might be good. But the average fella like me who barely get by in physics and biology, I never even did it. So come and expect me to understand this in a couple of hours. They just want to. I would advise anybody, do not send your children to Leicester Vaughan School until this thing is fixed, because they are telling the students and telling the staff, oh, we're going to do this in the Easter vacation. If you're going to do it in the Easter, if you're going to fix these things in the Easter vacation, they're not yet fixed. So if they're not yet fixed, why are you going to bring people's children and teachers and the ancillary staff into an environment where it can kill them? This is Leicester Vaughan School is now a gas chamber, not quite like the Nazis' gas chamber, but close enough. Because we are going there, they're going to gas you to death. Keep your children home. Do not allow your children to go into that school. Let the chairman and his cousin, chairman and secretary treasurer, to go into school and pray for themselves. This report is not a comprehensive report. It does not speak to all the areas of the school where you're having problems. They went and checked the manhole covers and then said they got no leakage. But there was leakage at other places. And they want to get people to bring their children into the schools. And because common entrance coming up or whatever is coming up, no, find some place else to do it. You cannot poison people's children because you want to pay your friends for a report and that kind of stuff, because this report is no better than the one that failed, the failed report in 2018. It just repeats a lot of some of the stuff, and the recommendations are almost identical to what they gave in 2018. It did not work then. Who tell you it will work now?
Yeah, this one is just the weekly and the daily and weekly checks.
But let this truck go, this truck don't leaks all the time.
Listen, Mr. Franklin, we want to discuss this some more in more detail, but we will do that, God willing, on Friday. All right. So Friday we have a show. The holiday, we don't stop. We found out during the holidays, you don't stop. That's when they're working. They're working all the little kuzuman thing, and then by the time the holiday is finished, Miss McLean, then we hear all kinds of things happen. We don't stop during the holiday. All right. So we here Friday. We're gonna have a show Sunday. Easter Sunday. We having a show. Go to church. Eat your fish.
Master, I'm on tomorrow.
Huh?
I'm on tomorrow, 7 p.m.
Yes, Kimar is on. I went looking for you last week. I didn't see you. But Kimar is on tomorrow. Thanks for that reminder, Kimar. Kimar, so listen. It's Thursday, then we're Friday, and then we're Sunday, and we Easter Monday. All right? So we're doing it all here. We hope to have a special guest. I can't say yet. It's not fully confirmed that we're going to have on the show. All right? So thank you all so much for watching. It's 10:08. Guys, enjoy your holidays. Be safe and be careful how you spend it. Right?
But I have to ask Maxine something quickly. Maxine, you said that Liz Thompson is a student of theology.
Yes.
You mean even Jesus didn't have any impact on this woman?
Sorry.
No.
She's still bad behaved.
But put it this way, it might have been worse.
Yeah.
Were she not?
Were she not a student of theology?
It can't get worse. Look at the video I sent you. It can't get worse. That way, even Jesus didn't have an impact on this woman.
All right, guys, good night. I knew Mr. Franklin
Good
was
night.
coming.
Heather,
Good
have a
night.
good weekend.
Yes,
Hi,
thank you,
Heather.
Heather.
Good
Thank
seeing
you
you
for
again.
sharing, Heather. Thank you,
Good night.
Mr.
Frankie,
Murray.
Miss
Goodbye,
Crystal,
everyone.
send me
Yeah,
the
Miss
report.
McLean, and thank you, Kimar, and to everybody who is joined, Marcia, Simone, Daniel, Juliet, and Clark, Nigel Newton, Easy T, Peter King, Simone Daniel, Jermaine, Marcia, Peggy Green, Angel Humble, Lemuel Tull. I can't call everybody's name, but I am so happy that you joined us tonight, and it's always great to see you in the supermarket. Isn't it great? You guys meeting some of them in the supermarket. We meet you in the supermarket anywhere. Every time I go into town, wherever. Sometimes I'm in my garden, people blowing their horn, and it tells us Barbadians are clued in, they are listening. And the word they tell me all the time, panelists, is that I'm getting educated. And I love that. I
True.
love
Yes,
that.
it's true,
Yes,
Marcia. I was
it's
in
true.
Bridgetown yesterday, and I was with a Barbadian friend who was visiting from overseas, came home for a funeral, and she said to me, "It's like every couple of yards you walk." And I had a response. I said, "Usually when they congratulate, I will pass on the message to Marcia." So Marcia and team Barbadians, as you correctly said, are saying thank you. They think this is an opportunity for them to learn a lot more, to understand many issues, and they appreciate the hard work. Nobody's paying us to do this. We getting paid in cash sometimes, but in congratulations, that's.
We're getting paid in cost in in Parliament, in the Senate, wherever. But guys, as I say, Caswell is a boss. Guys, thank you all so much, and God bless you all. Enjoy your holidays. Stay safe. Be very careful out there. God bless you. Bye bye. Good
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 night.
night.
night. Mhm.
Good night.